Mission verified fixes. The free Fix Finder service. Only at AutoZone.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
More details at AutoZone.com.
South Jersey's home of the Sports Bash with Mike Gill.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, me too. WENJ HD Millville, Atlantic City. A town square media station serving all of South Jersey. This is 97.3 ESPN. This is the Sports Bash with Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN. Now, live inside the Matt Black Kia Studios, here's Mike Gill.
Thursday edition of the Sports Bash. Josh Hennig filling in for Mike Gill here on 97.3 ESPN FM, the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle City. Well, folks, that James Harden news that we've been hearing about for about 3 weeks, it actually happened. I guess James Harden had to go promote his wine for 2 weeks, go to the party in the Hamptons, go party with Aaron Judge and Joel Embiid before he was ready to sign the contract. Obviously, I mean that a little tongue-in-cheek. It's still funny that I've seen more of James Harden this offseason than I've seen of him ever. And I'm just sitting around waiting. Just sign your contract, dude. Well, the contract was pretty much everyone expected. $15 million less than he could have gotten with the player option. So he's going to make about $33 million this year. And then he has the player option for next year. So we're going to dig into that. Also, I got to ask you guys, all you Philadelphia sports fans, you're all different ages out there. I'm in my mid-30s. So I'm kind of in between two different eras of Philadelphia sports fan. There's a lot of Philadelphia sports fans out there that remember the Spectrum and the Vet, and they remember the old arenas. And there's a lot of fans out there who really weren't alive for those things. Well, now the news came out this morning. The Sixers are going to build their own arena in Center City in 2031. So now you're going to be in a situation where the Sixers have their own arena, the Flyers will have their own arena, the Phillies will have their own stadium, the Eagles will have their own stadium. All four teams will have their own building. It's going to be like New York City. The Mets got their own stadium, the Yankees got their own stadium, the Nets, the Knicks got their own stadium, the Islanders and the Rangers, they don't play in the same building. Everyone's got their own building over there in New York City. Philadelphia is following the same model. So I want to get your guys' impressions on the Sixers news this morning. They're going to move out of the Wells Fargo Center by 2031 and establish their own arena. So two very different Sixers stories to get to today. Also, football at 4 today. Andrew Luchecko joined for a final division preview. We saved the quote-unquote best for last. It is no longer the NFC least. The NFC East is looking pretty interesting this year. And we'll dig in with Andrew Luchecko, writer for InsideTheBirds.com, coming up at football at 4. And we got all your NBA covered today. So we got Paul Hudrick from Liberty Ballers. He'll give us the Sixers feet on the ground perspective, covering the Sixers as closely as he does each and every night. Keith Smith covers the NBA as a whole, the NBA insider for Spotrac. We'll get from Keith his thoughts on the Harden news as well as the state of the NBA offseason. And then at 5 o'clock, he is Forbes sports NBA writer and co-host of the NBA podcast, Bryan Toporek, at 5 o'clock. We'll get some of the more financial aspects of this because Harden made the comment to Chris Haynes that he told Daryl Morey, you sign everyone you need to, I'll take all the money that's left over. So the question I'm going to ask is that what happened? Does this contract financially represent what Harden... Now, look, I'm not sitting here saying James Harden's a liar, okay? But I think there is a level of embellishment when it comes to these things. Look at this story with Kyler Murray today. Did you guys see this story? Kyler Murray is going to get a 5-year contract extension. Now, it's worth up to $230.5 million. But he's only guaranteed $160. So the agent wants you to see, look at it, $230.5 million. He's technically could make more money than Deshaun Watson. But Deshaun Watson's contract is fully guaranteed. Kyler Murray, only $160 guaranteed. That means $70.5 million of his money is not guaranteed. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that Kyler Murray's agent is a liar because he's probably going to go out there and say that I got my client the most money, right? But I will say that he might be spinning the conversation in his favor because his client will make more money this year than Deshaun Watson. Remember, Deshaun Watson is making the least amount of money in the first year of his contract with the Browns than he is the rest of the years. Kyler Murray is going to make over $100 million in the first 3 years of that contract. $30 million this year, and then the breakdown is there for that. We'll get into that a little bit later as well in the show. So my question out there for you guys listening at 609-403-0973 on the text board. You also get DM the show through the 973 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle City. What is your reaction to the James Harden contract? What is your reaction to the new stadium the Sixers are going to build in Center City, Philadelphia? You tell me what you think. You can even chime in about Kyler Murray. You know, it's a pretty big NFL news story because Kyler Murray was threatening not to report. Now, this is ironic because you know who reported today for camp early? Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson is in the final year of his contract. He's a league MVP. The team traded away his buddy Hollywood Brown to Kyler Murray and the Arizona Cardinals. Kyler Murray, who remember, is a guy who scrubbed his social media of anything to do with the Cardinals at one point. He was saying, I'm not going to report. I don't want to be here. You got to show you're committed to me. You know who showed up to camp today early? Lamar Jackson. Playbook in hand, looks buffer than ever. He put on some muscle this offseason. He looks like he's ready for the NFL season after some injuries last year. Perspective. Look at James Harden. James Harden said, I will take less money to win in Philadelphia. Kyrie Irving opted in to his player option because the Nets were not going to give him fully guaranteed money in his next contract. Perspective. So when we have these conversations, I ask all you guys out there, how much do these things matter to you? Now, I know they matter to me because I look at the bigger picture than just the guy's stat sheet in the back of the baseball card. I think that people matter, whether people like you or not. You know, quarterback's is an interesting position because it's less about who the most talented guy is than it is about who's willing to follow you. Basketball is completely different than football. Basketball is a very individual sport that operates in a team function. You put LeBron James on any team in the NBA, they're a contender. You put Kevin Durant on any team in the NBA, they're a contender. You put Tom Brady on every team in the NFL, I mean, they're a playoff team, but I can't promise you the Super Bowl contender. You put Tom Brady on the Detroit Lions right now, they're going to the playoffs, but I don't think they're winning the Super Bowl, right? So, you know, when we talk about these athletes and we see these dollar amounts, you know, oh, Harden took 15 million less. Oh, Lamar Jackson is showing up at training camp a day early. Oh, Kyler Murray is getting $160 million guaranteed. Oh, Kyrie opted into his fully guaranteed contract. Do we take enough time to factor these things in? I think we should, because when you look at the details around James Harden's contract, what is one of the biggest things that came out with that contract? One of the biggest things that came out was not just that he took $15 million less, because that is a big part of the conversation. The other part of it financially is, okay, he's got a 1-in-1 deal. He's got a deal that guarantees him 1 year for this year. He doesn't have to opt in next year. He can opt out again next year. Think about it like this. Harden declined the $47.4 million player option to give the Sixers flexibility. That's what that was his statement. And Harden told Chris Haynes of Yahoo Sports that I wanted to give the team the best opportunity to build so we can win. So Harden signs a 2-year, $68.6 million deal. The cap hit for this year is around $33 million. And you could call it a $36 million insurance policy for next year. What if Harden gets injured this year? What's he have a season-ending injury? I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm not hoping for that. I'm just saying injuries happen. Maybe he goes up for a layup. He comes down on somebody's foot, turns his ankle, boom, leg done for the year. Well, he's got the $36.4 million sitting in his back pocket. He just opt right into that next year. Now, remember that 36.4 is also an extra $11 million from his player option as well. So Harden didn't just take a discount for this year. He's potentially taking a discount for next year as well. Because Harden is looking at the big picture. Harden is saying, I want to win long term. I think that guys like Durant and Kyrie, they look at their careers and say, I got my ring. Because what happens? We all watch inside the NBA. Shaq's got rings. Kenny Smith has rings. Charles Barkley doesn't. But we all love Charles. You don't tune in for Kenny Smith. You tune in for Charles Barkley. And Charles Barkley is one of the greatest players of all time. And for Durant and Kyrie, they say, we got rings, Charles doesn't. So we're going to handle our business differently moving forward. Harden's like, I don't want to be the Charles Barkley of this generation. I think Harden looks around and sees that every player of consequence of the last 15 years, they have rings. Everyone. Chris Bosh, Dwayne Wade, Anthony Davis, Giannis. All these guys got rings. Who doesn't have a ring yet? Harden, Chris Paul, Jokic. It's not a very big list when you think about it. This isn't the Jordan 90s where Jordan was just dominating everybody. Half the league couldn't win a ring in the 90s because Jordan was just so dominant. Malone, Barkley, Drexler. Well, Drexler won a ring with Elijah Wan later, but that was when he was older. The point is that a lot of those guys in that Gary Payton, he didn't win a ring until he got to the Miami Heat when he was way old. So for a lot of these guys, they look around and they grew up watching Charles Barkley, right? And they see him on TV every night. And I think there's a part of Harden that says, I don't want to be Chuck. I want to be liked like Charles Barkley, but I don't want to be ridiculed by my teammates like Charles Barkley is. How many times you watch Inside the NBA and Shaq tells Chuck to shut up because he doesn't want a ring? Now, Shaq means it a little in jest because Shaq at the end of the day is actually a good human being. And there's a lot of reports out there that him and Charles are actually good friends. But I think it still rubs Chuck the wrong way a little bit. And I think maybe that is a little what has to do with why he's considering this live golf thing. Maybe he looks at live golf as like, I get to go somewhere where somebody doesn't tell me I have a ring. Because, you get to a certain age and one of two things happens. And anybody who's above the age of 30 knows exactly what I mean when I say this. If you are between the ages of 30 and 80, we all reach an age and a point in life where we either start caring more than we used to or we care even less than we used to about what people think of us. It just happens. It's part of maturity. It's part of growing up. You see the guy when you go out, like I'm on the boardwalk last night, and you see the different people walking up and down the Ocean City boardwalk, right? And we all had this experience. Every one of you listening to the sound of my voice out there, whether it's on 97.3 ESPN FM or on the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle City. Josh Hennig filling for Mike Gill here on the Sports Bash. You all know what I'm talking about. You see the people on the boardwalk who really care what you think about them. They're dressed a certain way to go to the boardwalk in the summer when it's hot outside. And then you got the people who are the complete opposite end of the spectrum. They don't give a darn what you think. They are wearing some of the most ridiculous things you'll ever see. And they are up there for themselves. And they don't care what you think about what they're wearing. It's usually an age thing. The older the person is, the less they seem to care what you think of them. And I think there's a part of Barkley that just, maybe he's just tired. Maybe he just wants to make sure he maximizes his value before he's not useful anymore when it comes to basketball. Maybe that's why he's going to leverage the Live Golf into getting a bigger final paycheck from Turner Sports. Maybe he's going to first force Turner Sports into a TV contract with Live Golf so he can do both. Who knows? But I think there's a part of Harden, seriously, that looks at Chuck and is like, I don't want to be Chuck. I don't want to be that guy. Keep the text coming in. 609-403-0973 is the text board. Don't forget, coming up at 2:40, we'll talk more about the Harden situation with Paul Hudrick, as well as Keith Smith at 3:20 today. Now, the Sixers arena situation, I mentioned at the top of the show. We'll get into this throughout the day because I know there's a lot of people that have varying opinions about this. So the Sixers have announced that they are going to build their own arena. Now, first of all, this is going to be almost entirely privately funded. So there's no, like the Buffalo Bills getting the state of New York to build them a stadium, right? This is not what's happening here. The Sixers are basically, it's going to be a partnership between local entrepreneur David Adelman, along with Sixers owners Josh Harris and David Blitzer. And they're going to call this complex 76 Place. Okay, cool name. Sounds a little bit like Sesame Place to me, but, maybe I just am of a certain age and that's where my mind goes. Well, the Sixers are putting this, though, in Center City. Now, for a lot of you out there, you're giving this idea the side eye because you're like, you're putting an arena and a parking lot in an area of town that is as congested as anything on the East Coast. That's like trying to build an arena in like Manhattan, basically. That's what the Sixers are, basically. For those New Yorkers out there, you're basically trying to build an arena in like the heart of Manhattan almost. That's kind of what you're doing here. Now, apparently, if you look at the pictures, it looks like they're just going to knock down some old buildings that were there and put this out there. Now, according to reports, minimum $20 million is being given by Harris and Blitzer to this project. And then the other Sixer, minority investors are all going to be part of this project. So, I applaud them for going out of their way to get privately funded. I think that's a very admirable job by them. Now, they also say that part of the reason why they're putting this arena where they are is because of its location in proximity to public transportation. So things like the bus terminal, things like the SEPTA line. SEPTA already came out with their statement today saying that they're excited about this and they're going to work with the Sixers to, make sure, I don't know, maybe SEPTA changes and make some of the times of their lines and their drop-offs to kind of line up with Sixer games or something. Because SEPTA's statement comes out, says, quote, SEPTA looks forward to working closely with the 76ers, the city, and other stakeholders on this exciting project. And I'm not going to read the whole statement, but that's basically the gist of it. So it sounds like that the public transportation people are fully invested in this. And for those who haven't seen all the pictures, basically the idea is that the arena is going to be within walking distance of the SEPTA station, the trolley station, Independence Mall, the Frankfurter line. It's going to be right in the middle of everything. Okay. Jefferson Station. So the idea is that, their rationale is you don't need as much space for parking if everyone is just going to take the public transportation over there. Because in a city like Philadelphia, a lot of people use public transportation. It's only people like me who are driving into the city to actually go to a game. The majority of people are taking public transportation around town. So in that sense, this is going to be great for the people in the city. For the people coming out of the city, this is probably going to be problematic. And I think that's where a lot of people are going to have questions about this. Now, there's a bigger reason why this is going to be done. And if you think about it from a business perspective, because Josh Harris and David Blitzer are businessmen first, okay? They're not sports guys first. But the reason why they're going to do this, they're going to open it in 2031 when their lease is done with the Wells Fargo Center, which is owned by the owners of the Flyers, Comcast Corp Xfinity. They're doing this as well to make money. The money they're spending now on building this thing is going to be recouped in the first 10 years. Because remember, look at the Phillies, look at the Eagles. What do? They use their stadiums for concerts. Now, the Sixers can compete with Comcast Spectacor in terms of arena people. So-and-so's concert coming through town. Do the Sixers maybe give them a better bid, a better deal than the Wells Fargo Center to get them to come to their place instead of somewhere else? I'm sure Meek Mill is going to be one of the opening acts by that point. You know, he'll have some sort of concert in there because Meek Mill and the Sixers have a great relationship. I'm sure there's a lot of people. You know, I know that Will Smith, for example, is a minority investor in the Sixers. Does Will Smith do something to help them get entertainment there instead of the Wells Fargo Center? How many people are going to want to go to a concert in a brand spanking new arena versus the Wells Fargo Center? It's been through about 5-6 rebuilds and about 5 name changes. I mean, for goodness sake, I mean, remember it was the Wachovia Center, it was the First Union Center, now it's the Wells Fargo Center. I mean, is there really a stadium in Philadelphia that's gone through more name changes than what is now known as the Wells Fargo Center? And the Sixers won't even call it the Wells Fargo. They call it the Center. You watch a Sixers broadcast, you listen to Sixers radio, you're on 97.3 ESPN with Tom McGinnis is on the call. We're at the Center. Of course they're calling it the Center, because tomorrow might be called something else, and it's not their sponsorship anyway. So, a lot to digest today. I think this is a pure business move. I think it's actually, if you look at it from a business perspective, I think it's smart by the 76ers. I think the name is a little corny, but I think the concept is very legitimate. And it's good they're going to take about 10 years to build this, because it's going to take time. You don't build a building like this overnight. You know, just demolishing the Spectrum took forever, it seemed like. So, look, this is going to be very interesting how it plays out. I remember years ago when the idea was that they were going to potentially put the Phillies Citizens Bank Park in Center City, and that was pushed back very hard. Now, the location was also an issue because it was near, you know, some of the, you know, more cultural areas of town, like, you know, the Italian and Asian community areas of Center City. So that was part of the pushback on that back then. This is more centralized into the transportation business district. So I think that's why they picked this area to do this. But according to their project, demolition doesn't even start for another 3-4 years. It's 2022. According to their timeline, demolition and construction isn't starting another 4 to 6 years. So that's how long-term this plan is. I mean, Joel Embiid won't even be a Sixer by then. Josh Hennig here, filling in for Mike Gill on the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN. 2 o'clock hour of the Sports Bash being brought to you so we get transportation by American Airlines and Atlantic City International Airport. ACY now is your one-stop ticket to over 90 domestic and international destinations. Book your next trip today at AA.com. All right, text board is open, 609-403-0973. I see text coming in from Rick in Delaware, as well as some others like Croce. I'll get to all your guys' comments on the other side. And, of course, you can also DM the show through the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Sea Isle City. We got a lot of Sixers and NBA stuff to get to today with all this news. Don't forget, coming up in about 16 minutes from now, Paul Hudrick from Liberty Ballers will join us at 2:40. Keith Smith, NBA Insider, at 3:20. And then at 5 o'clock tonight, Bryan Toporek from Forbes Sports and the NBA podcast join us as well. Busy show, a lot to get to. And on the other side, I will tell you my poll question of the day. We ended up with 74% of you said yesterday that you thought the 2009 Phillies was better than the 93 Phillies. So it went from 81% to 74%. So I feel a little better about that. I think we closed the gap, and I think the rational people showed up and started voting the other way just to bring the number down. So I'm glad to see that at least some rational people prevailed, because I don't think there was that big of a gap between the 2009 and the 93 team, but I digress. I'll tell you the poll question as well this hour later as well. Josh Hennig, filling in for Mike Gill here on the Sports Bash 97.3 ESPN.
When you need live sports play-by-play.
Forget it. Out of here. Reese Hoskins will touch them all over that right center field wall.
And the best sports talk in South Jersey. There's only one place to go. 97.3 ESPN.
It's a crime to pay more than a dime.
Every vehicle, one dime down.
At the all-new Springfield Mitsubishi, Atlantic City. SpringfieldMitsu.com.
We're Town Square Media, and along with the awesome radio station you're listening to right now, we're publishers of best-in-class national entertainment brands like Taste of Country, Pop Crush, and more. And when combined with our local brands, we can reach over 70% of consumers in our community. At Town Square, all this digital clout puts us in a unique position to help local businesses grow with powerful marketing solutions. In addition to local radio, we're experts at web design and SEO, plus targetable advertising solutions like streaming TV, addressable geofencing, YouTube, Snapchat, Facebook, Spotify, search engine marketing, and so much more. That may sound like a lot of buzzwords, but really all that matters is we can deliver a relevant and ideal target audience to your business with data-informed decisions. No guessing, no waste, and you gain a trusted marketing partner with Town Square Media.
Take your business to the next level. Call our Director of Sales, Jim McLean, today at 609-910-5247.
Almost 3 million people use Navage to breathe better, sleep deeper, snore less, and stay healthier. I'm Martin Hoke, and I invented Navage, the world's only nose cleaner that helps flush out airborne germs with powered suction. But what do doctors have to say about Navage? Here's Dr. Tonya Farmer, a board-certified ear, nose, and throat specialist.
Most airborne allergens and viruses enter through your nose. When that happens, it can cause congestion and irritation, and that just makes you feel miserable. You can get a cold, you can get flu, sinus infections, or even worse. Flushing your nose with a saline solution is the most effective way to flush all of those dangerous threats out of your nose. So now when patients come in my office, I tell them I highly recommend that you use Navage on a daily basis for overall good health and wellness.
And Navage is all natural and drug-free at Navage.com, Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, Rite Aid, Bed Bath, and Target. Navage, N-A-V-A-G-E. Clean nose, healthy life.
O'Reilly. Trust the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts to recommend the best products for your car. Like 5 quarts of Mobil 1 full synthetic motor oil, just $32.95. Extend the life of your vehicle, improve performance, and protect your engine against sludge and wear with Mobil 1 full synthetic. On sale now at O'Reilly Auto Parts and O'Reillyauto.com.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
I'll ring you up in a second. Kim, can you see if we have more acid wash?
Desmona's thrift store is the spot for killer vintage finds.
Oh, that looks fabulous on you. Hey, can you do the register?
But her sales clerk situation feels pretty threadbare.
Oh, yeah, let me clear out that fitting room.
Indeed can help her hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. We instantly connect you with quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your job description. Earn up to $500 in sponsored job credits by conducting interviews on Indeed. Visit Indeed.com/credit. Terms and conditions apply.
Get in the zone. AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. Dashboard light problems? We can help. Our free fix finder service can read your check engine light, ABS light, and service indicator light, and give you possible solutions, verified by licensed technicians. You'll even get detailed results sent straight to your email so you have them when you need it most. It's the most complete free warning light report backed by technician-verified fixes. The free fix finder service, only at AutoZone.
Get in the zone. AutoZone.
More details at AutoZone.com.
Hear ye, hear ye. Thanks for coming to the town square. First, I'd like to tell you about Steve. He's a plumber. I hear he does good work. Also, Tim. He's this new thing called a dentist. Oh, and Monica, she has a new vegan restaurant. I didn't even know that was a thing yet. Anyway, if you need those things, just wander around town and try to find them because the internet hasn't been invented yet, so I don't know.
This isn't the olden days. Now, word of mouth has gone online.
At Town Square, South Jersey, we can show you how to harness the power of your existing word of mouth and amplify it online. Go to townsquarelocal.com for a free local customer analysis, where you can see how many local customers in South Jersey you could reach online. Visit townsquarelocal.com and be the Town Square today. That's townsquarelocal.com.
Now, back to the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN.
Josh Hennig filling for Mike Gill here on a Thursday edition of the Sports Bash. As promised, if you guys thought to comment here before we get the ball, Hudrick 609-403-0973 is the text board. You also get DM the show through the 97.3 ESPN mobile app, powered by First Bank of Sea Isle City. Rick in Delaware says Center City parking is going to be ridiculous because of this. Shaking my head. Yeah, Rick, that was the thing I was looking into more so throughout the day today. So when they first announced this, they didn't really give a lot of details initially until this 76place.com website launched officially. But apparently the idea is that it's going to be an arena without a parking lot. And they're going to utilize the garages within the Center City limits. And you're going to have a lot of foot traffic moving from the garages, from the SEPTA line, from, all the transportation hubs that come into that area. So they claim this is going to help make the transportation situation better. I think it might create a new problem. I think you're going to create a whole new situation, which is going to be, twofold. I think that you're going to create a foot traffic issue. You think a Phillies game on a Saturday night's bad with foot traffic? This might be worse. Number two, I think this is going to create a whole new dynamic when it comes to price gouging. I think that there might, unless the city and the Sixers get everyone on the same page, okay, there might be a possibility where some of these garages may try to overcharge people for the parking. So it might be like going to Atlantic City on a weekend, and I'm not going to name names, but one garage is $10, one garage is $20, one parking lot's $15. You go to Wildwood on a summer night, one parking lot's $20, one parking lot's $15, one parking lot's $18. I'm walking through Ocean City the other day. I'm seeing the prices of the lots on Atlantic Avenue. One lot was $12, one lot was $15, one lot was $20. I think that might be a bigger concern than anything, Rick in Delaware. I think you might have some price gouging and some price manipulating going on with this. Over on the text board, Croce chimes in and says they could put it in the sports complex of every other stadium. Sure, they could find somewhere else to put it. It's nice having all the stadiums close together. That's from Croce. Well, the value of the sports complex is the parking arrangement. It's the fact that the overflow parking for the Eagles is the Phillies stadium, and the overflow for the Phillies is the Eagles stadium, and vice versa. And you can use when there's like Army Navy. When Army Navy comes to Philadelphia, they use all the lots, all of them, for that, because the amount of people who show up for that game, between military personnel, between fans, between the cadets from the schools, between visitors coming in from out of town, between media. I've been up there for it. It's an insane, what show. Okay. So Croce, I think that, that's where the value of the sports complex is. I know for the regular sports fan like yourself, you're looking at it in terms of, hey, it's nice. And, you go to the same place for every game. You're the familiar travel arrangement. I think the Sixers are trying to serve two masters here. I think they're trying to serve we want our own arena that's separate from everybody else so we can make money off of it. And then they're also doing the whole, hey, we're trying to reduce the carbon footprint and traffic in the city kind of thing too. They call it in the statement here, long-term sustainable goals in supporting the city's transportation situation. Read into that what you will. I'm sure there's somebody listening to this out of my voice who's going to have some political reason why they think that's stupid. But look, it is what it is. when I was talking earlier about in other big cities, when they have different arenas for different sports teams, part of that is because of the dynamics of those cities too. You look at, like I said, New York. Well, the Yankees are in the Bronx, the Mets are in Queens and Madison Square Garden and Long Island. They're completely different boroughs. Well, I mean, Long Island's not even a borough of New York City. It's a completely different county. One of the criticisms when New York had their COVID rules for so long was that if a team was playing the Islanders in Long Island in Nassau County, the rules for COVID were completely different than New York City proper. So, there's a lot of variations that come up with this. You go to certain cities, there's a reason why they use different arenas. Now, in other cities, it's just more convenient to use the same arena. But like I said, I think there's a lot of, hey, we can make money off of this kind of thing going on. John Devlin checking in on the text board at 609-403-0973 says, being a guy that comes from Brigantine, I love going to the sports complex. Get on the train in Atlantic City. 2 more trains right there will be the same thing. There's a bus and a train station there, meaning from anywhere in the world, I can get there easily. There's that perspective. John saying, look, I don't even want to drive into the city. If I can jump on a train and take it right up there, I don't got to pay for parking. I don't got to deal with the traffic. You're taking me right into the heart of the city to the game. He's signing up for it. There's another perspective. The guy who doesn't want to drive to the game, like John here, says, I don't want to do this. I don't want to deal with this. There's a lot of variables that go into this. Now, like I said, you're going to have a lot of foot traffic now moving around this arena because there's going to be more than Sixer games there. And the other factor is, and I'm going to paraphrase this one texter. Texter says, Josh, when the Sixers move, how is the area going to handle that? The city of Philadelphia has some crime issues in different parts of town. How does this affect that? Does that mean there's going to be more security in Center City than in South Philadelphia? When there was that shooting recently, it was in Old City, Philadelphia. Well, does having an arena there change the security dynamic? Are you going to have more police in Center City than Southern Philadelphia? Does crime then shift from one part of town to another part of town? Listen, the city's got its own political issues when it comes to some of that stuff, but it's a good question. How does an arena moving from one part of town to another influence the other socio-political issues of the city? Look at the Warriors. The Warriors, who are the Golden State Warriors, but they were in Oakland for 40 years. Now they're in San Francisco. And part of it was because the owners of the Warriors said that it was easier for them to build the arena and make money if they moved to San Francisco than kept in Oakland. Again, read into that what you will. Paul Hudrick from Liberty Ballers joins me, Josh Hennig, filling for Mike Gill next here on the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN FM and the 97.3 ESPN mobile app, powered by First Bank of Sea Isle.
Your official station for Summer at the Shore.
Throws the runner. The pitch is a little high. Throw to second. Out at second. Oh, JT Realmuto with an absolute laser down to second to get Arenado.
97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app.
Made a new home remodeling, helping make your dreams a reality.
Are you having another day where you just can't get motivated? Don't blame it on lack of sleep. Blame it on your bathroom. Hi, I'm Bryan with Made Anew Home Remodeling. If your bathroom is dull and boring, then maybe it's time for a change. If you're looking for a bathroom renovation with striking results, then reach out to us through MadeAnewHomeRemodeling.com.
My friend and I are taking a trip to Mexico this year, but neither of us speak Spanish. So we downloaded Babbel and started learning Spanish fast.
Want to get conversational in another language in as little as 3 weeks? Babbel's quick 10-minute lessons were designed by language experts to be the most efficient and effective way to learn a new language.
¿Cómo te llamas?
¿Cómo te llamas?
Babbel, language for life. Celebrating 10 million subscriptions sold. Now try Babbel for free at Babbel.com. That's Babbel.com.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today? Starting trouble. No one likes that. We'll get you set up for some stronger starts. You might just need a fresh charge, and we'll take care of that free of charge. But if it is time for a new battery, we've got replacement batteries that'll fit your needs, starting at just $69.99. You can learn more about our battery selection at AutoZone.com. That's what makes us America's #1 battery destination.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Claim based on data from the NPD Group 2021.
Yeah, it's Coach Ice-T. Who's ready to spin? We're starting with a big hill. Let's ride.
Why is Ice-T leading our spin class?
It's probably the Honey Nut Cheerios. He found out they can help lower cholesterol. Now he's having fun taking care of his heart in all sorts of new ways.
That's right, Buzz. Now, spinners, really pour your heart into it and pick it up.
Learn more by picking up a box of Cheerios and check out our Pour Your Heart Into It audio workouts with Ice-T and Buzz to get your heart pumping.
When you're an innovative business, every blinking cursor, every blank page is an opportunity. What will you do with it? Will you make something better or create something new? Our Dell Technologies advisors provide you with tools and expertise to do incredible things. Because we believe there's an innovator in all of us. For advice on smart PCs powered by Intel vPro that's built for business, call a Dell Technologies advisor at 877-ASK-DELL.
Almost 3 million people use Navage to breathe better, sleep deeper, snore less, and stay healthier. I'm Martin Hoke, and I invented Navage, the world's only nose cleaner that helps flush out airborne germs with powered suction. But what do doctors have to say about Navage? Here's Dr. Tonya Farmer, a board-certified ear, nose, and throat specialist.
Most airborne allergens and viruses enter through your nose. When that happens, it can cause congestion and irritation, and that just makes you feel miserable. You can get a cold, you can get flu, sinus infections, or even worse. Flushing your nose with a saline solution is the most effective way to flush all of those dangerous threats out of your nose. So now when patients come in my office, I tell them I highly recommend that you use Navage on a daily basis for overall good health and wellness.
And Navage is all natural and drug-free at Navage.com, Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, Rite Aid, Bed Bath, and Target. Navage, N-A-V-A-G-E. Clean nose, healthy life.
School's out, but we are rewriting the math. 0 plus 0 equals one heck of a great deal at Matt Blatt Nissan. That's right, 0 down, 0 payments for 3 full months, and 0 mistaking. That only Matt Blatt Nissan has brand new 2022 Nissan Armadas discounted $5,000 off. Plus, buy with peace of mind with our 4-day love it or leave it return policy. Don't see your Matt Blatt Nissan on the lot? Don't worry, you could be driving it home tomorrow.
Oh yeah, it's on at Matt Blatt Nissan.
Plus, if you're stuck in a loan or lease, AJ the Trade Man can get you released even if you owe thousands more than it's worth. With 0 down, 0 payments for 90 days, and 1.9% financing. Only at MattBlattNissan.com. On approved Tier 1 credit through NEMAC. Negative equity will be refinanced into new vehicle plus tax tag and $479 fee. Offers can't be combined. Call 877-289-6670 or go to MattBlattNissan.com for complete details. Offer ends 8/7/2022. It's on at Matt Blatt Nissan on the Black Horse Pike, Egg Harbor Township.
Now, back to more Sports Bash with Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN, South Jersey's sports leader.
Well, it's certainly an interesting last 20-plus hours of Sixers news. And we got to get through it all with Paul Hudrick because James Harden is officially, there's numbers to this contract we've heard about. We're going to get into that. And in 2031, when Paul Hudrick is still covering the Sixers, but Joel Embiid might not even be on the team at that point, it will be in a completely different area of talent. So we're going to hit on both of those right now with Paul Hudrick from Liberty Ballers here on 97.3 ESPN. Paul, good to see you. How you doing today?
I'm doing great, Josh. It's kind of you to say that I'll be doing that in 2031. Although, listen, I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. If I'll still be doing this when I'm 20, I guess in a lot of ways I'll be very lucky if I have that kind of job security anyway in 2031.
Well, let's get to the Harden stuff first. My biggest surprise from the Harden deal was the +1, not the first year, because we all heard about the first year between the different reports, between your conversations with Mike Gill. But the second year surprised me. The second year, he didn't try to make up any money. It's almost the same amount of money, basically.
Well, it's the player option. So what, to me, I think the deal kind of works two ways. And I think both things can be true. I think certainly he did take a pay cut. There's no denying that. He could have opted in and made $47+ million next year and just been done with it and hit free agency the following year. So, doing that, clearly it opened up a lot salary cap wise. The Sixers can't make the moves they make without him doing that. So he did help the team. And it is, not, I don't want to say selfless. That might be strong, but it is kind of selfless, but he is helping himself because he wants to win. So in order to do that, he had to take the cut. At the same time, I think he is betting on himself too, because like you said, the way the CBA works, you can only go up in salary like a certain amount from year to year. So with that player option is hovering around, I think, $36.5 million. But what can happen is if he goes out, and this is showing he believes in himself, right? Like he is betting on himself to come out, be better than he was last year, than he showed with Brooklyn and with the Sixers, show that he's healthy again and that his game can age well at age 33, and then get a new deal next year, whether that's here or whether that's elsewhere. So, and then at the same time, it's also a good insurance policy, right? If something goes wrong this year, he gets hurt again, whatever, he's got that player option that he can kind of fall back on. So I think both things can be true. I think there is some selflessness to it and wanting to help the team win. And then I also think he's betting on himself that he's going to be better and that he can cash in again next year.
You mentioned about the physical side, the health part. I want to hit on that really quick with you, Paul. I don't think it's a coincidence that Harden, in both the hottime.com article and the Chris Haynes interview, he mentioned in both of them being in a good place physically, being good physically, working on his body. I think it was clear to me, and I don't have any information to back this up per se. I think Harden was injured most of the time he was here. I think between the quad contusion and the hamstring on again, off again, I just think he was never 100%. I don't think it's a coincidence that he keeps bringing up, hey, my body being physically in a good place. I don't think that that's just, a random thing he's saying.
It's fair, Josh. I am with you that I don't think at any point when he was a 76er was he actually 100% healthy. I think the closest he was to it was probably after the trade goes down and he takes those 2 weeks off. I don't think it's a coincidence that he got here and hit the ground running and he looked spectacular. And then he sort of hit a wall and then he was just kind of up and down. And I think there just weren't reserves in the tank, if that makes sense. Like, I think he could turn it up at certain parts of the game, but then he knew. And I think one of the articles, I think it was the Chris Haynes article, where he said, like, I feel like I'm going to be able to get to my spots more this year. Whereas last year, basically he said, like, I wouldn't even try last year because I just knew I couldn't do it. And, there is that mental aspect to injuries too. Like, yes, there's the physical element where you just physically can't do something, but then there's also that mental block that even as you're recovering, even as you're getting healthy, that you still have to make sure you're good mentally to get over that hurdle, that you can do the things you did before. And now that's not just to make excuses for the guy. I think he's even admitted, like, he needs to be a little bit different. He needs to change his diet a little bit in the offseason. He's not getting any younger, 33 years old. I certainly sympathize being a little bit older than that your body starts to go down. I mean, it's just the way it is. You have to work that much harder to keep yourself in shape. You see what guys like LeBron and Chris Paul, all the resources they use in order to keep themselves in shape and still be really playing at elite levels at, like 37, 38 years old. So I don't see a reason why Harden can't do the same, but it's clear that he knows he's going to have to make some changes. And for the Sixers' sake, it looks like a good thing that he's going to make those changes.
I want to ask you about this analogy I made earlier, and I want to get your thoughts on it, Paul. Paul Hudrick from Liberty Ballers, at Paul Hudrick on Twitter for all of his Sixers coverage. I said that I think Harden looks at inside the NBA. And I think a lot of players, we all know, everyone loves inside the NBA. The entire league watches that show. Shaq's got rings. Kenny Smith has rings. Charles doesn't. I feel like Harden says, I don't want to be the Charles Barkley of this generation.
Yeah, I don't even necessarily think it's that. I think it's, I think every player, right? Like that's the goal. And like, that's the one thing that you look at his legacy and, it's there's so much recency bias in the world we live in, but this is a guy he changed the game, right? Like offensively, he's one of the greatest offensive basketball players we have ever seen. He is a surefire Hall of Famer, top 75 greatest players of all time. Like all of that, the individual stuff for him is secure. Like he has nothing to add to his legacy that can, you know what I mean? Like he's already great. He's already up there. The one thing that is missing is that championship. And when you look at some of his contemporaries, whether it is a LeBron James, whether, the Warriors that he took on many times out West, almost beat them, came pretty darn close, if not for, a crazy kind of, transpiring of events, with Chris Paul's injury, with them just completely forgetting how to shoot a basketball, the whole team, when they all went ice cold and the Warriors wound up beating him in 7 games. He's come close and he's seen those other guys around him, his contemporaries, win. So I think to me, and again, it's just like a self-reflection thing, right? When you get a little bit older, he realizes I'm 33. I don't know how many more cracks I'm going to get at this. I have a Joel Embiid who is a perennial MVP candidate. I have all of these pieces I need to make this happen. So this is the time. And I think that self-reflection is huge. Maybe it wasn't there in years past, but it seems to be there. He's saying all the right things. And I guess we're going to find out soon enough just exactly where he is.
Paul, I want to get your thoughts on the Sixers' other announcement this morning, which I had double checked my phone, make sure it wasn't some fake, Twitter account or something that was putting it out there. 76th place is what they're calling, which my first reaction was sound like Sesame Place. But on a serious note, I'm very intrigued by this. I find this whole thing very fascinating of them getting their own arena, privately funded. It's good to hear that they're not asking the taxpayers to foot the bill, and that they're putting it in a place, as they call it, centrally located for public transportation.
Right. And of course, like whenever something like this comes, like there's going to be things that arise. There's going to be people that are upset. That's just the way it is. All the Philadelphia teams have played right there in that complex for like 50 something years. So of course, the first thought when people hear that the Sixers are, it seems likely, leaving South Philadelphia, it's going to upset some people, right? And the first thing people think of is like, oh, traffic and Center City. But like you mentioned, the public transportation thing is real. They have a lot of ways to get there to that area, easier access from people in that area that live in the city. And look, we're South Jersey guys. Like, we get it. It's not that, it's very convenient for us, right? We just hop over the Walt Whitman Bridge. Boom. For me personally, I'm right there. It takes me 10 minutes to drive to the arena as it is right now. So, of course, by 2031, things are going to look a little different for me, and it's going to be a little bit more complicated. I'll probably have to take public transportation because it's not going to make sense for me to drive there. But it's change. When change happens, people get upset, and I get all that. But I think when you see, too, like what other teams have done, the first thought that came to my mind was Brooklyn and the Barclays Center and what they've done there with the Nets, covering the playoffs there a couple years back. It is cool that the Barclays Center is in the city. You know what I mean? Like, it's a part of the city. And it's a very, like, that area of Brooklyn, like, kind of reminds me of Philly a little bit. It really does. It's not so much the hustle and bustle of, like, Times Square and all that. Like, it's a little bit more laid back, and it's a little bit more younger of a crowd and all that. So I think that's what the Sixers are thinking here. And look, I think too, Josh, like the big deal is, yes, the Sixers are handsomely paid to be at the Wells Fargo Center, but they're a tenant, right? Like, they don't own the building. It is not theirs. So all this money they're kind of missing out on, right? So you can't begrudge them for wanting to do their own thing and make their own building. And I don't know where you would put it in South Philly at this point. So I also get they're trying to attract a younger crowd, and I think putting it in Center City does that too. So I understand why some people are upset by it, and I get why some people are ruffled and concerned, but I get why the Sixers could do it, and I could see how it could be appealing to maybe a younger crowd.
60 seconds before I let you go, Paul. At the Jersey Shore, my only concern is they talk about 29 garages within a half mile of the, well, in South Jersey, you go to Wildwood. One parking lot's $20. One parking lot's $15. You go to Atlantic City, same thing. My only concern is the Sixers in the city have to make sure there's not price gouging when it comes to the parking situation.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, for me, like I said, to me, it's a public transportation all the way for me. I'll go to, I'm in South Jersey, whether it's one of these stations, Collingswood, Haddonfield, whatever. I'll probably just drive to one of those at Patco, pick that up, hit up the subway, and it drops her off right there, right? That's right. It's a very convenient thing. So that's what I'm going to do from South Jersey. But I hear you. There's going to be, and look, it's not just that. There are going to be people that are going to take advantage of the situation. It's the way it is. I'm sure there's already real estate developers plotting schemes to buy a building and make it a parking garage and make a ton of money. It's just the way these things go.
He's Paul Hudrick. Follow him on Twitter at Paul Hudrick. Liberty Ballers is the site that he works with. Follow them for all of your Sixers coverage. Paul, appreciate you jumping on today.
You got it, Josh. Anytime, man.
Josh Hennig filling in for Mike Gill here on the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN FM, the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle City. More of your thoughts and comments on the other side. Text board is open, 609-403-0973. DMs in 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle City.
This weekend on ESPN Radio.
Swinging a high fly out to deep left field. Pete Alonso goes yard into the bullpen.
With the All-Star break behind us, we head to Citi Field in Queens, New York, where the NL East leading New York Mets welcome Manny Machado and the San Diego Padres. The Mets and Padres. Coverage begins Saturday at 6:30 Eastern and Sunday at 6 Eastern.
Listen to Major League Baseball on 97.3 ESPN.
Are spotted lanternflies, wasps, ants, mosquitoes, or ticks bugging you? Viking Pest can protect your home or business. For limited time, new Viking Pest customers save $50. Get a fast free quote at VikingPest.com.
Drivers who switch and save with Progressive save over $700 on average, and those savings add up. Imagine what you could buy in the future.
So yeah, I used the savings from switching to Progressive 50 years ago to finally buy my dream car. It's a self-driving flying car, but we just say self-flying now. Because it's the future, and cars fly in the future.
So switch to Progressive and save big, because those savings can add up in the future. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. National annual average insurance savings by new customers surveyed who saved with Progressive in 2020. Potential savings will vary.
Staples has everything for school at great prices. So this year you won't go back to school. You'll be ready to move forward and build that papier-mâché volcano.
I am not cleaning this up.
Ooh, yeah, I meant the kids. Staples will help them move forward. Right now, Crayola 10-count markers and 12-count colored pencils are just 99 cents each, and Staples one-subject notebooks are only 35 cents. Everything on your list at amazing prices. Staples, we're not going back. We're going forward to school. Ends 8/27 in-store only, limit 30.
All right, where are we going for breakfast?
I kind of want a breakfast quesadilla.
Oh, I didn't know they were doing quesadillas for breakfast these days.
Well, Taco Bell is.
Wow, I had no idea.
Yeah, they have this Bell breakfast box now that comes with this breakfast quesadilla that's super cheesy and a hash brown.
Okay, wish I knew about this earlier.
And it has Cinnabon Delights and a coffee in it.
Why did I not know about this earlier?
Try the new $5 Bell breakfast box, only at Taco Bell. At participating U.S. Taco Bell locations during breakfast hours only, 7 to 11 a.m. for a limited time. Contact local store for prices and participation when fair. Tax and extra. Drinks exclude freezes.
Think you can't take advantage of the great rates offered by a credit union? The truth is, there are many different paths to membership, and you may very well qualify to join First Harvest Credit Union. Ready to benefit from lower interest rates on loans, higher rates on savings, and no extra fees? Take advantage of free checking, mobile banking, and unique perks like tuition rewards. Stop in to a local branch or visit firstharvestcu.com, and we'll show you why First Harvest Credit Union is a better place to grow.
Almost 3 million people use Navage to breathe better, sleep deeper, snore less, and stay healthier. I'm Martin Hoke, and I invented Navage, the world's only nose cleaner that helps flush out airborne germs with powered suction. But what do doctors have to say about Navage? Here's Dr. Tonya Farmer, a board-certified ear, nose, and throat specialist.
Most airborne allergens and viruses enter through your nose. When that happens, it can cause congestion and irritation, and that just makes you feel miserable. You can get a cold, you can get flu, sinus infections, or even worse. Flushing your nose with a saline solution is the most effective way to flush all of those dangerous threats out of your nose. So now when patients come in my office, I tell them I highly recommend that you use Navage on a daily basis for overall good health and wellness.
And Navage is all natural and drug-free at Navage.com, Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, Rite Aid, Bed Bath, and Target. Navage, N-A-V-A-G-E. Clean nose, healthy life.
MVP's bonus days are here for pros. For 12 days, pros save big and MVPs get even more. Because MVP's Pro Rewards members can earn bonus points to redeem for rewards. Earn points on every dollar spent up to $1,000 and get up to 3 times more points when you shop select brands and products. Find MVP's bonus day savings from July 11th to the 22nd in-store and online. Exclusively at Lowe's. Exclusively for pros. MVP's Pro Rewards program subject to program terms and conditions. Details at Lowe's.com/L/Pro Loyalty terms. Subject to change.
Save thousands at Matt Blatt Kia. Get out of your old trade today, even if you owe thousands more than it's worth. Go to MattBlattKiaNJ.com for more details. That's MattBlattKiaNJ.com.
It's gotta be a
Matt Blatt Kia.
Sports is what we do.
He nailed the trifecta.
97.3 ESPN, WENJ, WENJ HD, Millville, Atlantic City, a town square media station serving all of South Jersey. This is the Sports Bash with Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN. Now, live inside the Matt Blatt Kia studios, here's Mike Gill.
Second hour of the Sports Bash. Josh Hennig filling in for Mike Dell here on 97.3 ESPN FM, the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle. It's 3 o'clock hour being brought to you by Garden State Beer Company. At Garden State Beer Company in Galloway, their motto is a beer for everyone. Contact them today at 609-232-BEER. That's 609-232-BEER. Still to come, we'll talk with NBA insider Keith Smith from Spotrac on his perspective on the James Harden contract, as well as the Sixers announcing their development of a new arena. Also, later in the show, we got football at 4 with Andrew Checo. We'll take a look at the entire NFC East with him. Of course, a little NFL news coming down today about quarterbacks, so we'll get into that throughout the show as well. And, of course, your guys' thoughts and comments. I'm seeing a lot of differing reaction when it comes to the news about the arena. So for those who haven't gotten all the details, all right, maybe you saw it in passing on Twitter, or maybe you're just tuning into the show here at 3 o'clock. Glad to have you guys on board. 3:02 on a Thursday here on 97.3 ESPN FM. So the idea is that the Sixers announced this morning that this is going to be called 76th place at Market Cast. Now, I'm sure that name is probably going to change at some point because 76th place is catchy, but the rest of it is not. So I feel very comfortable saying that the rest of the name might evolve at some point. But the idea is that they're going to build a stadium with private money. So there's going to be no money from the city, no money from the taxpayers of the state involved, which is definitely a positive in my opinion. And they're basically going to put it in the middle of the fashion district. And if you look at their maps for where this is going to be, right? The idea is this is going to be in a part of the city that is basically going to be within walking distance of the major hubs, okay? It's walking distance of Patco, walking distance of the Frankfurt line, walking distance of the trolley, walking distance from the suburban station, the SEPTA regional rail. Basically, the transportation hub of Center City is where they're putting this arena site. Now, for those who are wondering, I know there's a mall there at this point in time. Apparently, the Sixers say they're going to work with the mall owners to somehow incorporate the mall into the arena. It's not an apples to apples comparison, but for those who may or may not remember, in Ocean City, when they had the two movie theaters, one on Moreland Terrace, the Moreland Theater, and the other one, the Strand on 9th Street, both movie theaters had businesses kind of built into those complexes. So, like, if you were walking down the boardwalk, you had the box office on the boardwalk, but you still had to walk around the side of the building to get to the movie theater. And on your way to the movie theater, the last thing that was there before the theater closed down, there was a Starbucks basically built into the theater. And I forget the other shop that used to be in the Moreland. And then there used to be Mango's was adjacent to the Strand Theater. And there was in the past another little business in there that's kind of built into the movie theater. Now that the Strand isn't there, it's just all an extended Mango's. So, or Mako and Manco, actually, it's called now. Mango is not part of it anymore. I keep calling it the old name. It's like me calling the Washington Commanders the Washington football team. It's like I'm still stuck on the last name. But back to the Sixers, I foresee, based on what they're saying, is that they're going to build some of the businesses from the mall district into the arena. So it'll be like you go to the arena and there'll be maybe like different restaurants, or maybe like a different clothing store, or maybe a shoe place or something like that will be kind of built into the complex. So, and as Paul Hudrick mentioned about 10 minutes ago, he's comparing this project to the Barclays Center. So the idea is that you're going to have an arena without a parking lot with it. They're going to be dependent on the public transportation, and as they call it, 29 parking garages with a half mile. So obviously people have questions, and I'll get to your guys' thoughts and comments as well. Keep them coming in. 609-403-0973 is the text board. You also could DM the show through the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle City. The other question people keep having is about how this impacts Chinatown. Because for those who, maybe don't remember, or maybe you remember in passing, years ago, the Phillies, the idea was that they're going to build the Phillies' new stadium in the Chinatown area. And there's a lot of pushback because where they wanted to put the stadium would have impacted the residents of Chinatown and would have impacted the residents of other historically cultural communities in the city. So they eventually just said, look, we're going to build it across the street from where the vet is now. We're going to tear down the vet, turn the vet into a parking lot, and the Lincoln Financial Field will be right there. We'll make an expanded sports complex. Well, this does not impact Chinatown directly. The location of the arena, the idea is that this is actually going to be closer to City Hall than it is the actual residential area and the business area of Chinatown. So this is a little different than the Phillies plan in that and also a baseball stadium is way better than a basketball arena. Okay. One of the things that, Paul mentioned about the Barclays Center, but I'll also throw in where the Edmonton Oilers play. The Edmonton Oilers, their arena, there's a mall there too. And the Edmonton Oilers practice at an ice rink at another mall in Edmonton. So, you can build an arena with layers. A baseball stadium comes width-wise, right? You got to get the width of the stadium, the width of the arena, the width of the concourse. A basketball arena, you can kind of pack more in there because, for example, the Barclay, the entrance, they actually have like multiple floors basically in the arena. So, people enter one area. That's where the infamous incident of Conor McGregor with the UFC happened, in the parking garage for the buses that come in to the arena. It goes under the stadium, for example. So, you could have a arena like this with multiple layers. Instead of having spread out, you can make it go up. Again, I'm not an engineer. I don't claim to be an engineer. I did not stay at Holiday Inn Express last night. So I'm not going to pretend like I'm some expert on how this is going to work. But I've seen things like this work before in different places, in different situations. I mean, for goodness sake, the Mall of America out there in Minneapolis, they got an amusement park in there. If you can put an amusement park in a mall, the world's one of the largest malls in the country is out there, and there's an amusement park there. And the NFL had their media row for the Super Bowl in the food court. Okay, I remember we went out there. Mike Gill went out there to do the show those days, and he talked about on the radio how insane it was. I'm assuming you could do a similar thing with this. And considering they're not going to have even construction start to like 2026, those are not the things I'm as concerned about. I'm more concerned about how people get to the game than the impact of the arena on the surrounding area. Because like I said, if you look at the art, the projections, and all those things, the arena itself is going to be located in a spot that is basically directly within the middle of all the transportation hubs. But like I said, my concern is, how does this impact people going to the game? How much are people got to change their transportation going to game habits because of this? And I think that's my bigger concern than anything else. Like over on the text board at 609-403-0973, one of the messages that came in is from a guy from Delaware. And he says, Josh, as someone coming from central Delaware with kids, thinking about taking them, a drive to South Philly was always been easy to get right off the highway going north or south. He says, public transit with kids in the center city of Philadelphia makes me want to go nowhere near a Sixers game when that happens. Now, my answer to that guy is, well, you still can drive to the game. But as you said, it's less convenient because now you're having to even go take public transportation. The public transportation thing is not for people with kids. Let's be realistic. Nobody likes it when kids are on an airplane, let alone anywhere else. The parents having to herd the kids through the airplane. The one kid was screaming at the parent, the other kid, sitting in the wrong seat. It becomes a mess, right? I always feel bad for parents, especially single parents, having to herd their kids traveling anywhere. It's probably, worst case scenario for a lot of those people. But the texter from Delaware is right. And I appreciate you chiming in. I wish you would have left your name, so I could have given you credit. But the guy who says he's coming from central Delaware with kids, look, you can still drive to the game. But if you think about the driving conditions from central Delaware to center city, it gets complicated, right? If you're someone who, and I'm just throwing out there an analogy, okay? I'm not giving a literal description, but if you take the way that you usually do, you're right. You just jump on I-95, you jump a couple highways, you jump up at the sports complex, boom, you're there. This gets more complicated because if you're coming from, let's say, Dover, Delaware, okay, I'll go all the way down the Dover. I know we have a lot of Delaware listeners, so I'm going to appeal to you guys. Smyrna, Dover, Delaware, Lewes, Delaware, Wilmington, you folks from Delaware who want to go to a Sixers game now, and you don't want to take public transportation. You're talking about going up I-95 to basically just north of the Benjamin Franklin Bridge. You got to get off of the center city, old city, Philadelphia exit. And now you're having to go into the heart of the city. You got to do that little, end around loop because, the one road is one way. And what you're doing is now you're trying to find a parking garage in the area near basically City Hall, all those hotels in there. I'm sure someone out there can help me out, but you're talking about you're near Love Park. You're near that one hotel that's got like a 4 or 5 star hotel in the center city, Philadelphia. You're talking about, you're right near the Philadelphia Academy of Fine Arts. You're in a part of the city that there's a lot going on. It's hard to get from point A to point B. You're near the JFK Boulevard, John F. Kennedy Boulevard. So, moving around that part of the city is I would argue, harder than where the sports complex is now. So this may complicate traffic at times because the Sixers say in their map plan, 29 parking garages within a half mile, right? Well, now you got to do, like I said earlier, I told Paul Hudrick earlier in the show, we live at the Jersey Shore down here. 97.3 ESPN, we cover all the counties here in South Jersey. Well, if you're someone going to Wildwood, Ocean City, Atlantic City, what do you run into? The paid parking. What happened with the paid parking? One sign says 15, one sign says 20, one sign says 10. Now you start making, financial decisions while you drive around looking for a parking spot. Does that become part of the traveling itinerary? The guy from Delaware who says he wants to bring his kid to a Sixers game. He says, I'm not putting my kids on public transportation. Well, what he's doing is he's now making financial decisions as well, because if he is going to drive, he's got to pick from all the different parking garages around the area. And I asked the question earlier, and I'll keep asking it throughout the show. How does the city and the Sixers and the business people in the area try to regulate the price gouging that comes with parking garages? I can't tell you how many times I've gone to an event in Atlantic City or covered a sporting event in Atlantic City, and I have literally parked one place to save money instead of parking somewhere else. We've all done it. You are going to Boardwalk Hall, and you got to make a decision. Are you parking at Boardwalk Hall? Or do you have one of those casino membership cards that get discount parking at one of the casinos? And you park at the casino instead of a Boardwalk Hall, and you walk down the street to go watch the concert. I've done it, and I'm sure a lot of you guys out there listening have done it, right? You go down the shore. Listen, Seattle City right now, Seattle City, Avalon, and Stone Harbor all have this situation with the parking meter on the app. And there are people who the app crashes on them. They have trouble paying for parking. The whole, contactless, touchless parking situation is actually become a huge problem in some of the shore towns. It's to the point where people are like, I'm not going to pay for parking. I'd rather, for example, I would rather park on 30th Street in Sea Isle, not pay for the parking, walk the 10 extra blocks to where I'm going, then deal with this app that doesn't work and may overcharge me on my credit card. And now I'm in more credit card debt because the app didn't work properly, right? Well, how many people are going to look at the Sixers game and be making these kind of financial decisions that when they come to the shore, now you got to be like, well, I'm going to park in this garage instead of this garage because it's less expensive and I'm already spending so much money on the Sixers ticket. People forget, sports is sometimes for certain people. Look, the majority of people who love sports are not rich. Let's be realistic. The majority of people, you're working class, you're the average middle class person, you're not making $1 million. You're not even making $500,000. You're not making, limitless amounts of money. Going to a sporting event, if you got kids, you got you got your partner, your wife, your girlfriend, whoever it is, whatever. Maybe you're going with your brother. I don't know. Okay. Let's use Billy Schweim in the locker room Saturdays and Sundays here on 97.3 ESPN. Billy Schweim has a daughter. His brother has 2 boys. Let's say they're going to carpool together and go to a Sixers game. By the way, happy birthday to Billy Schweim. I know Billy Schweim's birthday today. That's why I'm mentioning him on the radio on a Thursday. Billy wants to take his daughter to the game. Billy's brother says, I would take my boys to the game. Billy's like, well, why don't we put everybody in the same car and we'll go together? Billy and Bobby Schweim and all their kids go to the game. So you got 3 kids, 2 adults. So now you're purchasing 5 tickets, right? You got to pay for the parking. You got to pay for the concessions. You got to pay for if the kid sees something in the shop. I want that jersey. I want that hat. I want that towel. Whatever it may be. By the time you're done going to a sporting event, you're spending probably somewhere between $200 and $600 between the tickets, between the parking, between buying the kid hot dog. You're going to get yourself something to drink, water, soda, whatever. Kid wants something to drink. I mean, heck, maybe you save money and you both drink out of the same bottle. Maybe it's like, hey, I'm buying the bottle of water for both of us because it's $8 or whatever it is, right? Going to these sporting events are not cheap. Now you're throwing in a totally new thing for people to adapt to. Parking garages, walking to the arena. And then when you get to the arena, I told you, you're going to have shopping stuff in that arena. Do you budget to go shopping there too? The Sixers are talking about having staggered times when the transportation hub people are coming in, right? The SEPTA rail, NJ Transit, the buses, the whole 9 yards. Well, let's say you want to get to the game early and you're driving. Well, you got to better get there early because early right now for the sports complex might be a different timing for early going to Center City, Philadelphia. So there's a lot of changes and a lot of variables and a lot of differences that are going to come with this. People have to get used to. Over on the text board at 609-403-0973, texter says, did Greyhound and New Jersey Transit bus stop right there as well, Josh? Yeah, the bus terminal is near there as well. I mentioned that earlier. Just to give everybody an idea of what they are saying about this location. So where the arena is, it's basically going to be across the street from Jefferson Station. It's going to be basically, if I'm looking at the map correctly, about maybe a couple blocks away from the Frankfurt Market line. It's going to be several blocks from Washington Square. It's going to be several blocks away from the trolley stop, about maybe, I'm going to say maybe about 5-6 blocks from the SEPTA and from the suburban station. Several blocks, maybe like 10 blocks from 30th Street Station. So it's a hyper central location. You're talking about walking. It's almost next door to City Hall. It's basically where they're putting this thing, the arena site. So, the Patco line goes right in there. You're talking about, the Broadridge Spurs going right in there. It's a pretty central hub where they're putting this thing. So, this is going to be great for the people who love public transportation, but it's going to be a whole level of complication for people who like to drive. All right. Get the more you guys' thoughts and comments on the text board. Keep them coming in. 609-403-0973. Mike from EHT and the rest of you, I will get to you guys' thoughts and comments in just a bit. But coming up on the other side, we're going to go national NBA perspective on the James Harden deal as well as the Sixers' new arena. Keith Smith, NBA insider nationally, will join us next here on the Sports Bash. Josh Hennig filling in for Mike Gill here on 97.3 ESPN FM. And don't forget the 97.3 ESPN mobile app. It's free thanks to First Bank of Sea Isle.
You haven't downloaded the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app? Well, go get it now to follow all the Philly sports teams at 97.3ESPN.com. Powered by First Bank of Sea Isle City.
Free battery testing, free battery charging, and replacement batteries that fit your needs. That's what makes AutoZone America's #1 battery destination. Get in the zone. AutoZone.
Doug. Chances are you're jamming in your car right now. And since Liberty Mutual customizes car insurance so you only pay for what you need, Limu and I are going to show you some safe car dance moves. Hit it. Everybody, check your blind spots real quick. Now hands on the wheel. Put them 10 and 2 and move your head like a bird do. Only pay for what you need at libertymutual.com.
Liberty, 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 liberty. Almost 3 million people use Navage to breathe better, sleep deeper, snore less, and stay healthier. I'm Martin Hoke, and I invented Navage, the world's only nose cleaner that helps flush out airborne germs with powered suction. But what do doctors have to say about Navage? Here's Dr. Tonya Farmer, a board-certified ear, nose, and throat specialist.
Most airborne allergens and viruses enter through your nose. When that happens, it can cause congestion and irritation, and that just makes you feel miserable. You can get a cold, you can get flu, sinus infections, or even worse. Flushing your nose with a saline solution is the most effective way to flush all of those dangerous threats out of your nose. So now when patients come in my office, I tell them I highly recommend that you use Navage on a daily basis for overall good health and wellness.
And Navage is all natural and drug-free at Navage.com, Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, Rite Aid, Bed Bath, and Target. Navage, N-A-V-A-G-E. Clean nose, healthy life.
Come on, giddy up. Get a move on.
Where are we going, Tex? Tombstone, Abilene, Dodge City?
Nope, we're headed east. We got to get going. We still got a long ride in front of us, and I ain't gonna miss Chicken Palooza for nothing.
It's Royal Farms Chicken Palooza with great chicken box, sandwich deals, and more all summer long. Get a 2-piece world-famous box, white or dark meat, for just $6, and 10 cents of each sale will be donated to local charities. You can also get a classic, spicy, or deluxe world-famous chicken sandwich. Plus, you can register for a chance to win world-famous chicken for a year. Royal Farms Chicken Palooza. Nobody wants to miss it.
Come on, you horsies. We're almost there.
Real fresh, real fast. Royal Farms. No purchase necessary to enter or win. Sweepstakes ends August 31st, 2022. Chicken for a year prize to be awarded as 8 $100 Royal Farms gift cards. For details and official rules, visit royalfarms.com/chicken-palooza-sweepstakes. Void where prohibited. Sponsored by Royal Farms.
This week at Macy's, get a jump on back-to-school style essentials like kids' backpacks for just $24.99 and 30% off fun looks from Epic Threads. Pick up something for the undergrads, too, with 20% off backpacks, handbags, and more. Plus, Macy's Star Rewards members earn on every purchase except gift cards, services, and fees. See Macys.com/Star Rewards. Savings off sale and clearance prices. Exclusions apply.
O'Reilly. This is Sarah's O'Reilly Auto Parts story.
Driving cross country with 2 young children is ambitious, to say the least. Then our check engine light came on. We pulled into O'Reilly Auto Parts and they tested it. Turned out it was a faulty sensor. They referred us to a great mechanic just down the street and we were back on the road in no time. O'Reilly
Auto Parts. Matt Blatt Kia wants to give you independence. Yes, independence. Like freedom from down payments, freedom from payments for 3 months, and freedom from your old car. Plus, if you have a job and clear $350 per week, Matt Blatt Kia wants to approve you today on any brand new Kia or pre-owned vehicle in stock, or one of hundreds of new 2023 Kia models en route, all with 0 down and 0 payments for 90 days. So bring any trade in any condition, even if you're stuck in a loan or lease. Matt Blatt Kia wants to get you released. Get cash for your car today, even if you don't buy a car from us. But why wouldn't you buy a new Kia? Because you can't make a mistake with our 4-day love it or leave it return policy.
It's gotta be a Matt Blatt Kia.
On approved credit plus applicable taxes and fees. See dealer for details. Not all will qualify. Deferred payment through TFCU. Interest accrues from date of sale. Offers don't combine. Go to mattblattkianj.com for complete details. Expires 8/7/22. Matt Blatt Kia, 6211 Black Horse Pike, Egg Harbor Township, and now on Route 37 and Tom's River.
Now, back to the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN.
Josh Hennig filling for Mike Gill here on a Thursday edition of the Sports Bash. With the more your guys' thoughts and comments in just a bit, 609-403-0973. Also, you can DM the show through the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle. See, a lot of people have a lot of thoughts on, it's a big Sixers news day, basically. Harden signs, the news comes down late last night. Sixers announced a new arena being built in 2031 today. We're going to get a national perspective on the latest with the Sixers now with Keith Smith. He joins the Sports Bash weekly throughout the NBA season and off season from Spotrac, and he joins us right now here on 97.3 ESPN. Keith, James Harden officially has put pen to paper, it looks like. How excited are you that that part of the saga is over?
It's just nice to kind of have it done. It's one more item we can check off the to-do list and figure out. And yeah, I mean, this is big. He gave up over $15 million. It sounds like by all accounts. And that's huge for Philly because not only did it allow them to get PJ Tucker and Daniel House, but it also gives them that little bit of flexibility, about $3 million or so, probably end up creeping up closer to $4 or $5 million in the end, to make in-season moves as well. That's absolutely huge. That is, something, we say all the time, give up money to sacrifice for a title and all those things. Well, James Harden put his money where his mouth is, and he did it.
Are you surprised or not surprised that this is a 1+1? Well, it's a 2-year, $68 million, but it's a player option for the second year. It's almost like one of those classic LeBron contracts he had in Cleveland.
Yeah, I am not at all surprised. And I don't think by any means this means, he's putting pressure on Philly to keep doing stuff and maybe he leaves next year or anything like that. I think this is more one of those deals where for James Harden, it's, hey, I'm going to give you back some money here, but next year I'm going to opt out, and then you're going to give me a max deal, and we're going to get right back to work on that front. And there might already be, one of those kind of, wink and a nod type of deals where it turns into, all right, hey, we're going to max you out next year. We'll even, add it more, another year on to that, or a partially guaranteed year on to that, or something like that. Well, we'll see when it all comes down and is said and done a year from now, but I do expect him to opt out.
When you look at what he signed with what he told Chris Haynes, which was, I basically told Daryl Morey, do what you got to do with him, pay him with what's left over. Did the Sixers pay Harden what was left over, or Keith, do they still have flexibility to do some other things here?
Yeah, they've got some flexibility now. They're sitting right now today, $3 million or so under the hard cap. But they're going to have to waive a player after they get Harden in just to get into roster compliance. And if that's a non-guaranteed guy off their books, or if they San Antonio and Indiana are sitting on a ton of cap space, they may even be able to dump a guaranteed contract on one of those teams. But however that comes together, they're probably going to end up being somewhere between 3 to 5 million. In wiggle room under the hard cap. And that's huge, because if you go into the season and you need to make a trade where the money's a little bit imbalanced, you're taking a little bit more than you have, that's big. Or if you wanted to, even you hit a point where it's like, all right, we really got to sign a proven backup center for Joel Embiid, or a proven backup point guard or something like that. You have that ability to go do that without really being squeezed up against that hard cap. So not only, him, opting out, taking less to get Tucker and House, it's big to give him that flexibility as well moving forward.
When Daryl Morey has talked about in the past about what they had to do to make the team better, we know Daryl Morey has always been, he's never been afraid to give his opinion, but I think also he understood he only could, go so far in his statements. Do you think the offseason has gone as well as could be expected, better than Morey expected, about what maybe the Sixers expected?
Yeah, it's probably about what they expected. My guess is they had a pretty good inkling that they had a good shot at getting PJ Tucker, and he's a guy who should really help. He fills some needs. There's some lineup weirdness there, but it's nothing I don't think they can't work around with enough time to figure it out. As far as, do you start him? Do you bring him off the bench? If you bring him off the bench, is he kind of your backup 5, but not really? What does that look like? Well, that's all stuff they'll figure out over the next several months. The Daniel House signing, it's fine. I don't know that it's one of those ones that we're going to be screaming about from the rooftops about later, because oh man, that swung everything for them. But it's fine. The wing market wasn't very good. But I think if you went into the offseason with the goal of, I need to get another front court player who can defend and ideally hit some shots, well, you can't do much more or much better rather than PJ Tucker. And then if it was, we need to add another quality wing, Daniel House is that too. So my guess is they went in with a couple stated goals, ticked those off, and they've still got everything else. They still have all the trade chips that they had before and all of that. So this is a pretty good spot to be in for them right now.
NBA insider Keith Smith joining us here on the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN. Check out all of his work with Spotrac. You can follow him on Twitter at Keith Smith NBA. Keith, a couple other NBA things I want to ask you about First of all, I don't know how much you've dived into or seen the Sixers news. The announcement this morning, they're going to have a privately financed arena they're going to build in Center City called 76 Place. It's basically right in the middle of the transportation hub. A lot of people are comparing this outline to kind of what the Barclays Center is up in New York with the Nets. This will be the first time the Sixers have had their own arena since basically the 1980s. So I want to get your NBA thought on a team like the Sixers saying, we're done leasing an arena. We're going to go get our own, and we're going to basically take 10 years to build it.
Yeah, I mean, it's huge that they feel good enough about where their position is that not only can we move forward with a new arena, but we can privately fund it. And as it stands right now, it's for us. And I know there were some quotes to, hey, if the Flyers want to come too, we'll see. But, for an NBA team to control its arena too is absolutely massive, because we see what that turns into when there's sometimes 2 or even 3 tenants in an arena. If you're the third team, that's when you're getting those Sunday afternoon games and those kind of things. And when you've got control of it, you're going to give yourself the primetime slots, and whoever else you share it with is going to work around that. But it's, I mean, privately funded, how big of a massive win is that for the residents of Philadelphia and Pennsylvania, that this is, hey, we got it. We're not going to come to you, and you're not going to go pay an extra 4 cents a gallon for gas or groceries or whatever it is, because we're trying to build this arena here. I mean, that is massive, and that, I think, speaks to the overall strength of not only the team. Obviously the team wasn't ever going anywhere or anything like that, but the league as a whole, that they're looking at and saying, hey, even though this is 10 years out before this thing will be realized, we feel really good about our position here in Philadelphia, about how strong the NBA is and will continue to be, that we can drop, $1 million or $1.5 billion dollars here to build ourselves a new arena.
Keith, what does it also say about the state of the Sixers franchise? Because, when Josh Harris him and his group bought the team, what was now basically 10 years ago, people viewed Harris as more of a businessman than a sports guy. And since then, he's expanded his ownership. He's got the Devils. He's got other sports properties. So does David Blitzer. And now it seems like they're parlaying all of their business success into this. What does that say about the business state of the Sixers organization in the NBA's eyes, who, 6 years ago, was Adam Silver telling them, you got to let Colangelo come in here and help you guys out?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's huge that things have really, turned around, stabilized, and they're in a really good position. Now, 10 years from now, who knows how many people are still involved. It's, that's a lifetime in the NBA. But I remember back when it was, Josh Harris and crew bought the team, it was seen as, well, these are guys who are going to buy it. They're going to flip it, 2 or 3 years from now. And, here we are a decade later or so, and they've still got control of the team. And that's good for stability reasons. The NBA wants stable franchises with good backing, with good ownership that's there. And I think they've committed to, right, they paid for some pretty expensive rosters. They've okayed some trades and contracts that have taken them to new areas pay-wise. And now you've got a front office in there that you feel good and confident about running the team. We've got a good group of players. Now, I'll be surprised if anybody currently on the Sixers plays in a single game in that new building, just because it's so far away. But it is, but it's still, it's a sign of, hey, today, these guys helped get us to the point where we can make this long-term commitment of, so much money where, basically that's, it's a little bit less, but that's almost the cost of buying another franchise, or something like that to build this building. And that's absolutely huge, again, for the team, the region, and all the fans in that area.
Keith, I want to ask you about another business side conversation. The NBA fining Warriors owner Joe Lacob for, I don't want to say, the league is calling it, discussing and talking about collective bargaining and unauthorized communications. Listen, he was on a podcast with Andre Iguodala, And to me, he gave his opinion, but apparently this is the kind of opinion the league doesn't want owners talking about in public.
Yeah, I mean, they have done this in the past. I want to say it might have been Mark Cuban got fined once upon a time for.
I remember that.
Talking about CBA discussions outside of the realm of the NBA and then BPA. They've finally gotten to a point where both sides are working really well together, and they don't want anybody else kind of coming out and kind of saying their own thing off on the side. And, Joe Lacob can, say whatever he wants to his fellow owners, to the league, and probably to the NBPA about, hey, yeah, I think these luxury tax penalties are crazy and they're unfair. And, we're having to pay, the brunt of this and all that. I think it's more on the NBA side of saying, hey, let's not jeopardize anything that's going on here. We're moving along pretty well. All expectations are that the two sides are going to reach an agreement on a new CBA before we even hit the opt-out for the current one, which comes in December of this year. And that's kind of now consistent with what we saw last time around. So I think we're going to hopefully get that again, which means no kind of work stoppage, no games will be missed. Everybody's going to keep plugging along. But this is the league basically saying, hey, let's kind of keep those conversations quiet and behind closed doors, because we don't need to do anything that's going to jeopardize where we're headed right now with our partners in the NBPA.
Now, you mentioned the collective bargaining agreement discussions that are being had. I'm assuming that some of those conversations have to be about, this situation with Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving and how Ben Simmons and his fiasco in Philadelphia. I mean, I don't know if you per se, Keith, have the answer, but I just want to get your thoughts on, how does the league and the players try to come to a point to maybe avoid some of this fiasco?
Yeah, the way I'm going to say this is going to maybe sound a little bit odd, but the big things are in a pretty good place, which is how much money we're making and how are we splitting that money. That's at the end of all of this, that's the crux of everything that this all revolves around. And both sides are in a pretty good spot where, hey, we're both making a ton of money right now, more money than this league has ever seen. They said basketball-related income and revenue records last year, like we've never seen before for the league. So that's the good news, is both sides seem to be pretty good there. So then you can start working on what I call the smaller issues. Now, they're big and they're important issues, but they're not, hey, how are we affecting the money for, hundreds to thousands of people like that? We're not there. So now you can get to working on, all right, what are we doing for mental health? And how are we going to put in a system of checks and balances to make sure the players are getting the assistance and help that they need, while also making sure that these are all legitimate issues? What are we going to do about guys signing 4 and 5 year contracts in 1 year into them saying, yeah, I don't want to be here, I want to be traded? How are we going to protect the team? And on the player side, it's, hey, I signed a 5 year contract. If you decide you don't like me a year in, how am I protected there? And I think those are what we're going to see some changes come in the new CBA, where it's going to be both sides kind of sit down and say, all right, hey, if you sign one of these long-term deals, we're going to lock you both in on this to basically say, hey, we're going to make this work. Or it's going to have to be a mutual thing where both sides, all right, this isn't really working, let's go a different direction. I do think we're going to see some movement on that.
All right, Keith, before I let you go, I got to loop you into our poll question of the day. So the news came out this week that Netflix has lost another 1 million+ subscribers in the second quarter. They lost 300,000 in the first quarter. They lost over 1 million last year. So Netflix is losing viewers while Disney Plus and Amazon Prime are gaining them. So Keith Smith, I want to know, when you're not watching NBA games and you pull up a digital streaming platform, are you pulling up Hulu? Are you pulling up Netflix, Disney Plus, or Amazon Prime?
It's a mix between Disney Plus and Amazon Prime most often. Those are the two. We're big Marvel fans in this house, so anything MCU, we're all over. We're going to watch those on Disney Plus, and then Amazon Prime. There's a handful of shows on there that my wife and I both enjoy, and then it's a dirty pleasure, but I'll throw Peacock for us into the mix, because it's the absolute most garbage trash TV show on television, but we watch a lot of Below Deck in the Smith house.
Oh my
and that's
goodness.
how we generally tend to watch that. Yeah, that's where I turn my brain off for an hour or two at a time. It just kind of focus on awful people being awful.
All righty then. Peacock was not on my list because if you go by the subscription numbers, the top 4 most subscribed digital platforms are Netflix, Hulu, Disney Plus, Amazon Prime, and so I figured I'd just stick to
we only got Peacock for the Premier League. That was our sole our reason initially, or my sole reason anyway. But then that turned into, hey, this Below Deck's on here. Let's check this out. And that became a pandemic show, and that's a pandemic habit we've been unable to break.
So while half the world is watching Squid Games, you were watching Below Deck.
Yeah, I did check out Squid Game though. I did see that. Well, let's just say with the help of a friend, I was able to watch that one.
Keith Smith at Keith Smith NBA on Twitter. And we appreciate him jumping and giving us a league perspective on the Harden and all the other NBA news. Keith, we won't talk to you again for a little while. Enjoy the rest of your summer. Hopefully Kevin Durant doesn't get traded at a very inconvenient time for you.
Yeah, let's avoid a Labor Day weekend trade or anything like that that's going to get me in any more trouble with the family. But I appreciate it. Thanks for having me, Josh.
Josh Hennig here, filling in for Mike Gill on the Sports Bash, 97.3 ESPN FM, the 97.3 ESPN mobile app. Again, at 973 ESPN on Twitter is the poll question. Netflix for 2 straight quarters. They've lost 1.3 million subscribers this year. So what are you watching when you're not watching sports? Are you watching Hulu? Are you watching Netflix, Disney Plus, Amazon Prime? Let me know as well. Also, I got more texts on the text board. Monday Marcus, Mike and EHT, and more. Your guys' thoughts on the Sixers' new arena set to debut in 2031. Text board is open 609-403-0973, and you can DM the show through the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Sea Isle.
There's never an off season for the NFL. It's football at 4 every day at 4 p.m. on the Sports Bash with Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.
It's a crime to pay more than a dime.
Every vehicle, one dime down.
At the all-new Springfield Mitsubishi, Atlantic City. SpringfieldMitsu.com.
Almost 3 million people use Navage to breathe better, sleep deeper, snore less, and stay healthier. I'm Martin Hoke, and I invented Navage, the world's only nose cleaner that helps flush out airborne germs with powered suction. But what do doctors have to say about Navage? Here's Dr. Tonya Farmer, a board-certified ear, nose, and throat specialist.
Most airborne allergens and viruses enter through your nose. When that happens, it can cause congestion and irritation, and that just makes you feel miserable. You can get a cold, you can get flu, sinus infections, or even worse. Flushing your nose with a saline solution is the most effective way to flush all of those dangerous threats out of your nose. So now when patients come in my office, I tell them I highly recommend that you use Navage on a daily basis for overall good health and wellness.
And Navage is all natural and drug-free at Navage.com, Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, Rite Aid, Bed Bath, and Target. Navage, N-A-V-A-G-E. Clean nose, healthy life.
Things are a bit tight lately. That's why I love Kohl's. I went back to school shopping and got kids' clothes for under $6, sneakers for less than $20, and an extra 20% off already great deals, like 25% off backpacks. And get this, you can save more with a Kohl's card and earn Kohl's Cash. Talk about more style and more savings. Select styles, 20% off ends July 24th. Some exclusions apply. See store or Kohl's.com for details.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. Dashboard light problems? We can help. Our free Fix Finder service can read your check engine light, ABS light, and service indicator light, and give you possible solutions, verified by licensed technicians. You'll even get detailed results sent straight to your email so you have them when you need it most. It's the most complete free warning light report backed by technician-verified fixes. The free Fix Finder service, only at AutoZone.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
More details at AutoZone.com.
Mom, Dad, I humbly suggest you save some money and shop Amazon for back to school. It's for my growth, meaning my body's growing at an alarming rate. And clothes you buy me this year will be very small very soon. Plus, the clothes I love today will be out of style tomorrow. But at least your wallet doesn't have to be my fashion victim if you shop low prices for school at Amazon. Hopefully this is helpful. Amazon. Spend less, smile more.
My milkshake brings all the boys to the yard, and they're like, it's better than yours.
Spilled your milkshake? Quick, the quicker picker upper. Bounty picks up spills quicker. And each sheet is 2 times more absorbent, so you can use less than the leading Ordinary brand. So you can get back to your milkshake.
My milkshake brings all the boys to the yard, and they're like, it's better than your
Bounty, the quicker picker upper.
5X480. Dayton B100 V-Belt, one of the many parts Grainger carries. It's also the item that helped Rob carry the day. The job was on hold, deadline fast approaching, but a quick search on Grainger.com and Rob found his part. And with same-day pickup at his local branch, he and his crew got the job done, safely and on time. Get supplies and solutions for every industry with real-time product availability. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
School's out, but we are rewriting the math. 0 plus 0 equals one heck of a great deal at Matt Blatt Nissan. That's right, 0 down, 0 payments for 3 full months, and 0 mistaking. That only Matt Blatt Nissan has brand new 2022 Nissan Armadas discounted $5,000 off. Plus, buy with peace of mind with our 4-day love it or leave it return policy. Don't see your Matt Blatt Nissan on the lot? Don't worry, you could be driving it home tomorrow.
Oh yeah, it's on at Matt Blatt Nissan.
Plus, if you're stuck in a loan or lease, AJ the Trade Man can get you released even if you owe thousands more than it's worth. With 0 down, 0 payments for 90 days, and 1.9% financing. Only at MattBlattNissan.com. On approved Tier 1 credit through NEMAC. Negative equity will be refinanced into new vehicle plus tax tag and $479 fee. Offers can't be combined. Call 877-289-6670 or go to MattBlattNissan.com for complete details. Offer ends 8/7/2022. It's on at Matt Blatt Nissan on the Black Horse Pike. Egg Harbor Township.
Now, back to more Sports Bash with Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN, South Jersey's sports leader.
Over on the 97.3 ESPN mobile app on the DNs, Jeff in Ocean City says, many major cities have a separate arena for basketball and hockey nowadays. Not many, but the Rangers and Knicks share a building, but the Islanders are in a different building than the Nets. If the city does not approve the Sixers' request, then they will leave the city. If the city approves, then the Flyers will move into the Sixers building eventually. Just my opinion. That's from Jeff in Ocean City. The only reason why I don't see the Flyers moving into the Sixers arena, and somebody else brought this to my attention, and that was how much money the Flyers have spent on upgrading the arena in recent years. I think the Flyers are very happy where they are. And I think the Flyers, whether it stays the current ownership or it's a new ownership, I think a lot can be learned from the Islanders situations. For those who don't remember, the Islanders temporarily moved into the Barclays Center. And it was a disaster. It was an absolute, utter fiasco. To the point where the Islanders got out of their lease as soon as possible, went back to Nassau Coliseum before they finished fixing it up. Like, that's how bad it got. That the Islanders realized they were better off at a separate arena than sharing it. Look, there are cities where teams do share the same arena. Okay? And there are other cities where they don't. And I think that it's becoming a matter of financial value. If you invest a lot of money into your own arena, you want to keep it. If you don't invest a lot of money in your own arena and you're willing to come to a co-share agreement, it can work out. I think for years initially for the Sixers and the Flyers, it just made a lot of sense for them to be in the same arena, especially considering at the time, there was a point in time where Ed Snyder and Comcast Spectacor owned both teams at one point. So I think there was a time it made a lot of sense. James Dolan is the owner of the Madison Square Garden sports company, and they are the owners of both the Rangers and the Knicks. It's not separate ownership. So I think in situations where there are the same owners, it's a lot easier to rationalize being in the same building than if you have two different owners where the Sixers were basically paying a lease agreement and basically paying rent to be in that building. I think it's just a different environment. So, Jeff and Ocean, I appreciate you bringing that into the conversation over on the 97.3 ESPN mobile app. Monday Marcus chimes in over at 609-403-0973. He says, hey, Josh, in Boston, New York, and Brooklyn, people don't really drive the basketball games. I know we are all in South Jersey, and like the people in Delaware, Philadelphia is viewed as a commuter city. Even the people who do drive, once you get past a certain point, people purposely don't want to drive in and around the city to see a game or anything else. Just more convenient for people in the city and right outside to use the public transportation. Everything will be fine. We will adjust for those of us outside of Philadelphia specifically, and it will make it easier in the long run for non-traffic to get in and out of the city and get to sporting events. A couple things there. One, I think Marcus brings up a good point that over time people will adjust to this. And I think that, maybe the byproduct will be people will just drive less into the city in general, maybe. If there's going to be a shopping mall of some sort, for example, in this arena, maybe that will also cut down on some of the traffic going in and out of the city as well. So there's that part. I do think, though, that, the parking garages being there is going to still be there for the people. But another text that came in, I think, brings up the point that I said, which is Matt from Dennisville says, every one of us knows that $20 a park is going to turn into 30, 40, and 50 really fast. That's from Matt in Dennisville. Matt's right. Because you know what, Matt? We see it here in South Jersey. I said it. Look, Wildwood, Cape May, Sea Isle, Ocean City, Atlantic City, those public parking lots and those public parking areas, that gets dicey. You're driving around, you're seeing one price. You almost need one of those apps to compare gas prices. Oh, man, well, this place is $4.61 and this place is $4.69. I got to drive an extra mile to go get gas. People are going to start doing that at these parking lots. Good stuff on the text board. Football at 4 next. NFC East State of the Division next.
Health Update with Robin Stoloff. Learn more, live better.
Many of our jobs require us to stare at a computer screen for long periods of time, causing what is known as computer vision syndrome or digital eye strain. Between 50 and 90% of people who work at a computer have at least some symptoms, which include red, tired, and dry eyes, and sometimes blurry vision. It can also affect our children when they stare at a tablet or phone screen for hours on end. Some ways to combat this problem: cut down on screen time, use specially designed computer glasses, and practice the 20-20-20 rule. When you're on a screen, every 20 minutes, look away at something at least 20 feet away for 20 seconds. These regular screen breaks give our eyes some much-needed rest and help prevent eye strain. I'm Robin Stoloff for Health Update.
Health Update with Robin Stoloff, empowering you to live a healthier life.
Matt Blatt Kia wants to give you independence. Yes, independence. Like freedom from down payments, freedom from payments for 3 months, and freedom from your old car. Plus, if you have a job and clear $350 per week, Matt Blatt Kia wants to approve you today on any brand new Kia or pre-owned vehicle in stock, or one of hundreds of new 2023 Kia models en route, all with 0 down and 0 payments for 90 days. So bring any trade in any condition, even if you're stuck in a loan or lease. Matt Blatt Kia wants to get you released. Get cash for your car today, even if you don't buy a car from us. But why wouldn't you buy a new Kia? Because you can't make a mistake with our 4-day love it or leave it return policy.
It's gotta be a Matt Blatt Kia.
On approved credit plus applicable taxes and fees. See dealer for details. Not all will qualify. Deferred payment through TFCU. Interest accrues from date of sale. Offers don't combine. Go to MattBlattKiaNJ.com for complete details. Expires 8/7/22. Matt Blatt Kia, 6211 Black Horse Pike, Egg Harbor Township, and now on Route 37 in Tom's River.
By texting 64,000, you agree to receive recurring automated marketing messages from Babbel. Message and data rates may apply. No purchase required. Terms apply. Available at Babbel.com/TNC.
I thought learning a language would be too much work, but Babbel makes learning fun. J'aime Babel.
Babbel's lessons only take 10 or 15 minutes, and in 3 weeks, you can actually speak another language. Es como magia.
Babbel isn't robots talking. You learn words and phrases from real native speakers. I was ready for real-life conversations in just a few weeks. So easy.
To try Babbel free, text radio to 64,000. Text radio to 64,000.
Something you probably do know. Progressive can not only offer you a great price when you bundle home and auto, they offer you round-the-clock protection. Something you probably don't know? A driveway basketball hoop, including the base, weighs around 400 pounds. Something you probably do know? There's a windstorm coming. Something you probably don't know? A basketball hoop tipping over can poke a hole in a car roof like a can opener. Bundle your home and auto with Progressive and get more than a great price. Get round-the-clock protection. Something you know for the things you don't know. Coverage from Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and third-party insurers and subject to policy terms. Bundle discount not available in all states or situations.
Hey guys, the Royal Management Team has gathered you here in Yield Conference Room to announce that thanks to all your hard work, the granary has enjoyed record profits this year. Nice. That said, there still isn't room in the budget for raises, but we will be providing gift cards to Grimwald's Tavern.
Really?
I'm sorry, I've been informed they are actually coupons, not gift cards.
Throughout history, people have always been underpaid. That's why Monster lets you search jobs by salary. Find your job at monster.com or download the app.
I want the truth.
You can't handle the truth.
Did you take those big down payments?
You're darn right I did.
Your Honor, he is breaking the laws of Springfield Mitsubishi, Atlantic City. They made it clear. It's a crime to pay more than a dime. Every new Mitsubishi, one dime down.
Take them away. And at Springfield Mitsubishi, Atlantic City, ask for credit amnesty.
If you bring home $350 a week, you could get up to $25,000 in credit. So, what's the beat on inventory?
Other dealers are struggling, but not Springfield Mitsubishi, Atlantic City. 40 new Outlanders in stock now. An entire fleet of new and pre-owned. New Mitsubishis from just $17,000.
It's a crime to pay more than a dime.
Every vehicle, one dime down.
At the all-new Springfield Mitsubishi, Atlantic City.
In Pleasantville, they service all makes and models.
Springfield Mitsubishi AC.com. Springfield Mitsubishi AC.com.
New 22 Mirage, 16 Ford, 9 down, $249 a month for 72 months at 3% APR, plus tax tag title to qualified buyers.
A Town Square media station serving all of South Jersey. This is 97.3 ESPN, home of the Philadelphia Eagles.
He is hit. He stumbles. He's down.
WENJ HD Millville, Atlantic City. 97.3 ESPN presents the Sports Bash with Mike Gill. It's time for Football at 4 with 97.3 ESPN.com's Andrew DeCecco.
My first allegiance is what will be best for the Philadelphia Eagles and our fans for the next 3, 4, 5 years.
Powered by the Inside the Birds podcast. Now, live from inside the Matt Black Kia Studios. It's Football at 4.
The latest edition of the Inside the Birds podcast dropped this morning with Jeff Mosher and Adam Kaplan, and they're talking with Greg Cosell about the New York Giants, which is very convenient because the Inside the Birds guys talking about the state of the NFC East, and so is Andrew DeCecco. Mike Gill and Andrew were doing week-by-week previews of all the divisions, and we've saved the best for last. The NFC East is no longer the NFC least. There's a lot of what-ifs in the division, though. So we're going to get to all 4 teams with Andrew DeCecco, InsideTheBirds.com, writer at @DeCecco NFL on Twitter. And he joins me right now on 97.3 ESPN. Andrew, how you doing today?
Doing all right, man. How are you?
Doing pretty good. So before we get to the specific teams, what is your perspective on the NFC East? Because to me, I think the entire division, in some way or another, every team got better at something. What is your perspective on the division as a whole?
Well, I mean, on paper, I think it's going to be a lot more competitive than it has been in recent years. But again, the game's played on the field, obviously. So a lot of things, health, of course, being, the most paramount and instrumental for any team's success is going to be, this summer is going to be very telltale in that regard. And also, how are these different components, how are they going to come together and gel to form a cohesive unit early on into the season? Sometimes a lot of these different pieces don't really really gel or form that chemistry until later into the season. And sometimes by that point, Josh, the sort of train has gotten derailed and off the track, so to speak. So there's a lot of different caveats that you have to look at. But, on paper, that you have to like what every team has done as far as making, leveling the playing field.
Let's go team by team. I want to start with what Greg Cosell, Mosher, and Kaplan talked about this morning with the Giants. And to me, I agree with them. I think one of the most fascinating storylines for this season is new coaching staff. Bryan Daboll, Mike Kafka coming into this offense with Daniel Jones, with all those wide receiver weapons. What are the things that you are wanting to look out for with this new coaching staff, with this very new offense with the Giants?
Well, obviously with Mike Kafka there being experience with that Kansas City offense, of course, and he was a passing game guy there. So you want to see a little bit more innovation in terms of what the Giants are able to do from a passing game standpoint. They obviously have the weapons in place. You have Kadarius Toney, who, there's a lot of questions, surrounding his maturity level and where he's at in terms of development. But his skill set is undeniable, and he's an explosive player. So you want to see if they're able to kind of use him as a Tyreek Hill light type of talent, get him the ball in space, and get him on the move. And then Kenny Golladay has a lot to prove. So I'm looking to see if Kafka and the coaching staff can get a lot out of him. Also, let's not forget Bryan Daboll, right? Bryan Daboll, he got the most out of his quarterback there in Buffalo and Josh Allen. And I think that I'm interested to see what he's able to do with Daniel Jones, who I still think has some potential there. I think that there is a lot of moving parts around there, a lot of different things that sort of maybe hindered his development to some regard. And some of it, of course, was on him as well. But I'm interested to see what he's able to do with a head coach in place that has a proven track record of developing and working through some of the deficiencies of the quarterback. And then, Don Martindale, right? I mean, you look what he did in Baltimore, very aggressive coordinator. And I think you're going to see a less passive and a more aggressive defense. He's going to be on attack a lot more. And so we'll see what happens. But you have to – I've been very impressed with the Giants in terms of what they've done in building the coaching staff, because that to me has always been one of their biggest drawback, right? I think there's always been coaching in a constant flux there. And I think now they have some stability, and with a mixture of a young coach and some experienced guys that have a proven track record of development.
When you look at Daboll's history, Josh Allen in Buffalo, Jalen Hurts at Alabama, he worked with the tight ends, the New England Patriots, guys like Gronk, and then Brady at quarterback. Daboll has a very extensive history around the NFL. So I want to ask you, what can Daboll take from his background into the Giants situation that, frankly, a lot of people have a ton of questions about?
Well, I think he's going to provide structure first and foremost. I think you just mentioned that he's had success at different levels. He's had success working with different positions. So he has different approaches that work with each player. And I think that he's going to be able to find a way to get through to each individual player and find a way that's going to be most conducive to their environment, and what's going to help them ultimately become the best version of themselves. So, I mean, that said, I think that there's a lot of things to work on with Daniel Jones as far as consistency. Just a little late on his throws and things of that nature, not the little quick working through progressions. I don't think he sees the whole field particularly well on occasion. Then there's some games where you make some throws and you're kind of like, wow, where's this been the whole time? So I think he's going to make Daniel Jones a more consistent passer, and this is really a make or break year for him. So he's got the right coach in place to get the best out of him, I think.
What are your thoughts on the Giants' offensive line? I love the draft pick of Evan Neal. I think he's going to be a stud in the NFL. But over the last few years, the Giants' offensive line has kind of been a dumpster fire.
Yeah, I mean, that's a fair assessment. But they have invested resources. You look at Andrew Thomas in the first round a couple of seasons ago. You mentioned Evan Neal, so they have their bookend tackles there. Shane Lemieux is I believe he was a mid-round pick in 2020. I like some of the things that he's done. He of course, I believe, went to LSU, if I'm remembering correctly. So that they have it's a far cry from being world beaters and one of the premier offensive lines in football. But are they better than they were last season? Absolutely. Are they better than you're starting to see continuous improvement in that area? And I think you're going to see sort of a change of the guard there with this coaching staff in place. I think there's going to be more of a precedent placed on offensive linemen and winning in the trenches. And not only that, but identifying the right guys to do so, because that's always been the problem, particularly on the defensive side for the Giants. So I do like some of the pieces that they have there. They're still a long ways away, though.
You mentioned Don Wink Martindale earlier. I want to get back to that. His defense is very different than Patrick Graham. So what are your thoughts on this Giants team? You know, they have some interesting pieces on the defensive side of the ball, but you're talking about a completely different way of calling a defense from Patrick Graham to Martindale.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a lot more of an attack-based scheme, in my opinion. I mean, you have a guy like Thibodeau that is going to be interested to see how they're going to use him. I would envision that they're going to turn him loose and let him get after the quarterback. You have Tay Crowder, who's there as their linebacker. I believe they drafted Micah McFadden, I think, from Indiana, if I'm remembering that correctly. So he's there as well. He was a mid-round pick. Then, of course, you have Azeez Ojulari, who was a second-round pick in 2021. So they have some guys there, and I think you're going to see a much more aggressive and less passive defense there with Wink Martindale in place. Now, the question that I have is, you have some pieces in the secondary. Is that enough to complement what they have from on the defensive front? Now, I think that I like Julian Love. I think Xavier McKinney is a solid player, but then you look at the cornerback spot. Adoree Jackson's been very up and down, and I think that he really is the type of player that needs a strong corner playing opposite him, because I don't know that he's really ready or equipped to take the mantle of being a top corner on any defensive backfield. And Darnay Holmes is a player that I really like as their nickel corner from UCLA. Very quick twitch athlete, good short area quickness, fluid, stays in phase with receivers exceptionally well. So, they have a couple of decent components there to work with, but I still think that there's some rough patches there on defense that they're going to have to figure out a way to smooth out.
Also, former Eagle Michael Jacquet is now with the Giants, so he adds to their.
Well, he has to make the team first.
That is true. Andrew DeCecco, Football at 4, powered by the Inside the Birds podcast. Follow Andrew on Twitter at @DeCecco NFL, and check out his work over at InsideTheBirds.com. Andrew, let's go down the road to Washington. No longer the Washington football team, they're the Washington Commanders, although I'm still calling them the Washington football team by accident a few times already. But this is a team that feels like there's a lot of what ifs, right? It's if Carson Wentz plays well, if Antonio Gibson stays healthy, if the offense is able to execute what Scott Turner wants to do. This feels like an offense that is built more on the what if than the actuality.
Yeah, well, the what ifs are always going to follow Carson Wentz, because now he's become a journeyman. He's now on his third team, and you're looking to say, he on paper he had a decent season last year. I believe 27-7, but of course you saw the good and the bad. The bad, you saw the way the season ended against the Jaguars. Now, you have a vastly improved receiving core here to work with, and of course Terry McLaurin. You have Curtis Samuel, who's their slot guy, who's very good in space and explosive, and then you have Jahan Dotson, a player from who they selected in the first round from Penn State, who I got to see up close and personal at the pro day. He's pro ready, plug and play starter from day one, in my opinion. Very advanced route runner. So he has a good nucleus of receivers to work with. And then from a tight end standpoint, you look at Logan Thomas, and he's really, people forget. I think he's sort of overlooked and forgotten about a lot, because he's not mentioned nearly enough with some of the top tight ends in football. But when you look at his production and track record, I think you'll see a tight end that I think he's going to form an instant connection with Wentz. And I think Wentz is going to have to lean on him, much like he has in the past with his tight end. So he does have a decent passing contingent of pass catchers to work with there. Now, offensive line, that's where the question lies, right? Because they have a lot of questions on that unit, in my opinion.
You mentioned the offensive line. What is – I don't even know what they can do, honestly, Andrew, because every time I keep looking at their roster, I feel like I've looked at it 4 times this week, and it feels like the offensive line is kind of duct tape at this point.
Yeah, it's bad. I mean, you have 2 guys that they had to grab from other teams, and, veteran journeyman Trey Turner and Andrew Norwell.
Right.
And those guys are just they're just guys. They're backups. They're adequate backups on most teams, and now they're really being asked to start for this team. But outside of Sam Cosmi, the right tackle, who was in second round pick in 2021, they don't really have a lot of guys that you could really hang your hat on. I mean, Charles Leno is there, but I mean, you're right. And when you mentioned the offensive line is essentially held together by duct tape, you're right. So I don't know that that's going to be enough to. I don't know that the offensive skill players that they have are going to be enough to overcome the poorest offensive line that's going to be in front of the quarterback. So that's going to be the problem. And then Antonio Gibson, as far as health, I believe he led the NFL in carries last season, but he wasn't really able to be as productive as you'd like early in the season. The offensive line wasn't generating much push, so I don't know how different that's going to be based on what they have to work with.
Yeah, Gibson was 4th in carries last year. He had 9 more than Dalvin Cook, just to give everybody an idea of kind of what company he was in last year. Flip it over to the defense. Last year, the defense didn't play good, Andrew, for the first few weeks of the season. They finally found their footing halfway through into the later part of the season. Can Washington get off on a better foot to start this year defensively?
Yeah, I think they will, and that comes with cohesiveness. I mean, at the top of our conversation, we talked about how sometimes it takes a little while for pieces to gel, and it's not that chemistry isn't always built instantaneous. It takes time of working together, growing together, building that trust in one another, and I think now you started to see that in the second half of last season, the familiarity of playing with one another. So, I mean, again, on paper, that's a dominant defense, probably the most formidable defensive line in football, right? So can they really, it's great to have that, title in the off season, but you have to live up to it. And they have so much blue chip talent on that line. Now they need to be able to deliver. And I think they're ultimately going to, and I think that's really going to be their calling card this season. I think the defense is really going to have to win some games for them, because I just don't know how they're going to manufacture any sort of consistency on offense with that offensive line in front of Carson Wentz.
We know how good the defensive line is in Washington. Arguably, if not the best, one of the best in the NFL, Andrew. But is the secondary good enough to hold up their end of the bargain?
I mean, I have my doubts about that. I mean, outside of Cam Curl, who I really do like, is a great story. 7th round pick in 2020. I think he's been really solid on the back end in the middle of that defense. But, you have Benjamin St. Juste, who I like coming out of Minnesota. He's 6'4", really rare size and length for a corner on the outside. But I don't know that, he's really essentially being asked to be the top corner, and I don't know that he's equipped to do that. So they're going to have some areas of weakness that I think teams are going to attack. You look at the other side of him, Kendall Fuller. He's been around, he's experienced, but I think you're going to see the corners get attacked a little bit and get exploited a little bit there if the defensive line isn't able to get home with regularity. So that could be a problem for them. I really like what they've done at linebacker. We didn't mention that, but Jamin Davis, 1st round pick in 2021. I think he's going to be really come into his own this season, become a household name. Obviously he wasn't much of a household name even last season when he was drafted in the 1st round, but I think you're going to see him really burst onto the scene this year. I think he's going to be a key guy in that second level for Washington.
Let's head down to Dallas. Everybody hates Dallas, but we're going to talk about him anyway. My biggest gripe with Dallas, Andrew, is that I feel like for a team that let Amari Cooper basically leave for almost nothing and, didn't really do much to kind of, solidify a wide receiver core that basically only one guy is 100% healthy. That's CeeDee Lamb. Gallup's coming off of that injury.
Yeah, Gallup's coming off the injury, but you also have James Washington there, and Jalen Tolbert's a guy that I'm probably high on more than you, based on what you're conveying. a third-round pick from South Alabama. I got a chance to see him grow and develop over the past few seasons, really coming into his own and emerging against some premier schools. And so I think that he might actually be able to contribute earlier than some may anticipate. As far as Gallup could be an X factor on that offense if he's able to be healthy, because he provides them with something that they don't currently already have, as far as being someone that can separate downfield. He can win at all three levels. Long arm guy, and I think that he can win in a multitude of ways. So if he's able to, if he's ready to go and can stay healthy, I think he helps unlock the full potential of that. But of course, CeeDee Lamb is my breakout player for that offense. I think it's going to go through him, the whole passing game, that is, and he's really proven that he's ready for a larger role. And I think that you're going to see him really take the reins this season and step up as the primary target there. I'm really interested to see what James Washington can do for that offense, because I think maybe a change of scenery would have done him well, probably even earlier than this season. I think he really got caught in numbers crunch there in Pittsburgh, and he battled some health issues and things like that. But I do think that there's talent there, and I'm interested to see if they're able to get that out of him now that he'll have a more steady role in an offense.
Speaking of health issues, it seemed like almost everybody on the Cowboys offensive line was injured last year. What is your confidence in that offensive line to hold up this year?
Well, injuries are almost impossible to predict. I mean, you just I don't know if you're one to believe it, like believe in lightning striking twice. But I think that when you see what they have there, I mean, if healthy, that's a dominant line, right? I think that could be a difference maker. They should be able to dominate in the trenches and give Dak Prescott enough time to facilitate the football to the weapons that we outlined. So, I mean, I'm not gonna. It's hard to predict injuries. I think that all things even right now as we speak here on July 21st. I think that's the best offensive line, or one of the best offensive lines in football.
On the defensive side, what do you think the Cowboys defense can be this year? They made some interesting additions back there.
Yeah, they certainly did. I mean, you look at Sam Williams at defensive end, who's a second-round pick. Jabril Cox was a fourth-round pick in 2021, and I think he's going to have more of a role this season. Micah Parsons, of course, really took the NFL by storm and contributed early last season and became a dominant force. And they have at the center of their defensive line, you have Gallimore and Osa Odighizuwa, who was a player that sort of took on an elevated role last season out of nowhere. And I think that he really performed, and until proven otherwise or until unseated, he'll be a starter on that team. So, and then on the back end, you have to look at Trayvon Diggs, Trayvon Diggs is a polarizing type of player because he gets the interceptions, but there's plenty of times where his technique and things like that aren't necessarily up to par, and he can get beat on occasion. I think that you might see teams be a little bit more aggressive and taking advantage of him on that side and go after him a little bit more this season. Jordan Lewis is a nickel corner who I really like, very fluid player. When he's the type of guy that you're going to see him match up with running backs out of the backfield and things like that. He's done that in the past with guys like Alvin Kamara. J-Ron Curse is a very long safety, maybe 6'4", so they have some length back there. And I'm really going to be interested to see what Dan Quinn's able to do with this group of guys, and if they're able to play to standard.
And just to remind folks, South Jersey's own Bridgeton High School graduate Marquise Bell is trying to make the team this year. We'll see if he's going to be a Dallas Cowboy when they finally make that 53-man roster, or if he'll be on the practice squad. Andrew, let's wrap it up here with the NFC East here on Football at 4. How do the Eagles stack up against their rivals, and who do you think wins the division this year?
I think they stand up well against their rivals, and the guy that puts the sort of tips the scale in that favor is A.J. Brown. I think getting a bona fide number one receiver that's going to draw coverage away from Devontae Smith, open things up for Quez Watkins to be more of a vertical slot, give Jalen Hurts more of a big body red zone target, a bigger target to throw the football to, and You have Dallas Goedert there as well. I think you're going to see a more prolific aerial attack this season for Philadelphia, which, as you know, that's what Jeffrey Lurie really wants it to be. So I think you're going to see Jalen Hurts have a little bit more command of the offense, and he has the pieces to do it. And this is a make-or-break year for Jalen. So I think that when you see what they have from a firepower standpoint, it's as good as anyone in the NFL as far as just having the different types of guys that can win in a myriad of ways. So I like what they have. And then you look at the offensive line, which is really what it comes down to. And the offensive line is terrific. It's in terrific shape right now. You have Jordan Mailata, Landon Dickerson, Jason Kelsey, Isaac Seumalo, who will probably in all likelihood be the starter there at right guard. And then you have Lane Johnson. So you have the protection and you have the firepower to make things happen. And in order to win that division, you're going to have to be able to outgun guys like the Dallas Cowboys that do have plenty of firepower on their own right. So the pressure is going to be on Jalen Hurts a little bit, but I think he's going to be ready to answer the bell.
He's Andrew DeCecco. Follow him on Twitter at @DeCecco NFL. And, of course, by the time we speak to him again next week, the Eagles will be on the field at the NovaCare Center in training camp. Andrew, we're finally at the football season.
Yeah, man, we're there.
Talk to you next week, Andrew. Take care.
Sounds good. Bye.
Josh Hennig here, filling in for Mike Gill on the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN, 4 o'clock hour of the Sports Bash being brought to you by American Airlines and Atlantic City International Airport, ACY. Now is your one-stop ticket to over 90 domestic and international destinations. Book your next trip today at AA.com. A couple things before we hit the break with Andrew. Look, Andrew and I don't always see eye to eye on some of these things. Andrew takes a lot of his perspective from the fact that he's a draft nick, he's a draft guru, and he's someone who says, I know what these guys can do in the NFL. And my answer to those comments a lot of times is, well, what do those guys do with these coaches? I don't have faith in Mike McCarthy. I think he's the worst head coach in the entire division. I think the guy was propped up by Aaron Rodgers. He showcased last year in Hard Knocks that he's a bumbling imbecile. So to me, listen, Andrew can love Jalen Tolbert all he wants. He can think James Washington has potential, but if Mike McCarthy is on the headset and Kellen Moore makes a call, are you guaranteeing me that Mike McCarthy doesn't find a way to mess it up? I mean, come on. So, that's where Andrew and I disagree. I think Andrew and I have always had a little bit of a disagreement on how we view the role of the coaches and a lot of these things that happen on the football field. I think the coach, has a more of an impact in my evaluation than maybe Andrew does. But it's because we come from different perspectives. I don't believe in Tyron Smith of the Cowboys staying healthy. He's been injured every year the last few years. I look at the Cowboys offensive line, and I think that they're injury prone. I look at the Giants offensive line as better than last year, but they still have flaws. Washington is worse than they were last year. To me, the Eagles are the best offensive line in the division. And I think that might be the key to them winning the division, because if they can stay relatively healthy and everybody can play at least 12, 13 games of their starters this year, I think the Eagles can win the division. I know it's not sexy. I know it's not great for fantasy football, but Herm Edwards said you play to win the game. And if you got the best guys in the trenches, more often than not, you're going to win in this league. All right, coming up now on the other side, headlines, get around the latest news around all the sports leagues, get you updated on what you may or may not have missed throughout the day. We got quarterback news today. We got NBA owners being fined, and you guys on the text board, a lot of feedback from you guys throughout the day. Your reactions to the new Sixers plan for their new arena, 76th place in Center City. We got a lot of people interested. We got a lot of people pissed. We got a lot of people liking, disliking. We'll get to all your comments. Continue throughout the show. Text board is 609-403-0973. And you can DM the show through the 97.3 ESPN mobile app. It's free. Thanks to First Bank. See ya. I'm Josh Hennig, filling for Mike Gill here on the Sports Bash.
Our
Your love for sports is what makes us different from any other station in South Jersey.
Oh, yeah!
Number one for live sports and sports talk. 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app.
Free battery testing, free battery charging, and replacement batteries that fit your needs. That's what makes AutoZone America's #1 battery destination. Get in the zone. AutoZone.
My friend and I are taking a trip to Mexico this year, but neither of us speak Spanish. So we downloaded Babbel and started learning Spanish fast.
Want to get conversational in another language in as little as 3 weeks? Babbel's quick 10-minute lessons were designed by language experts to be the most efficient and effective way to learn a new language.
¿Cómo te llamas?
¿Cómo te llamas?
Babbel, language for life. Celebrating 10 million subscriptions sold. Now try Babbel for free at Babbel.com. That's BABBEL.com.
Matt Blatt Kia wants to give you independence. Yes, independence. Like freedom from down payments, freedom from payments for 3 months, and freedom from your old car. Plus, if you have a job and clear $350 per week, Matt Blatt Kia wants to approve you today on any brand new Kia or pre-owned vehicle in stock, or one of hundreds of new 2023 Kia models en route, all with 0 down and 0 payments for 90 days. So bring any trade in any condition, even if you're stuck in a loan or lease. Matt Blatt Kia wants to get you released. Get cash for your car today, even if you don't buy a car from us. But why wouldn't you buy a new Kia? Because you can't make a mistake with our 4-day love it or leave it return policy.
It's gotta be a Matt Blatt Kia.
Unapproved credit plus applicable taxes and fees. See dealer for details. Not all will qualify. Deferred payment through TFCU. Interest accrues from date of sale. Offers don't combine. Go to mattblattkianj.com for complete details. Expires 8/7/22. Matt Blatt Kia, 6211 Black Horse Pike, Egg Harbor Township, and now on Route 37 in Tom's River.
Baseball, basketball, soccer, tennis. No matter what your game is, defense matters. Same thing goes for COVID-19. Help protect yourself with a booster shot, now recommended for people 5 years and older. Schedule an appointment as soon as you are eligible, following completion of your primary series. Sponsored by Pfizer and BioNTech.
First, we decide where we want to go. Then we need to know the best way to get there. Hi, my name's Adam Barada. I'm the owner of Advantage Gold. We're the highest rated precious metals firm in the country. We teach people how to own physical gold and silver. Now, we've won the Best of TrustLink Award 4 years in a row because we educate our clients on how to buy gold and silver the right way. We don't pay celebrity spokespeople millions of dollars. We'd rather pass that value on to you. Call 800-900-8000 and speak with one of our experts. We'll send you a free gold kit along with my latest #1 national best-selling book, The Great Devaluation. Call 800-900-8000. That's 800-900-8000. Get the best information, the best process, the best service, the best value. Call Advantage Gold at 800-900-8000. Call 800-900-8000.
Advantage Gold is not an investment advisor or a tax advisor. Consult with your financial advisor before investing.
Powered by NJM. No jingles or mascots, just great insurance. This is the Town Square, New Jersey Info and Weather Network.
With South Jersey information you need to know, I'm Vin Avenue. Galloway Township Police say a daycare worker is charged with simple assault and child endangerment. A celebration of life will be held tonight for the pilot of a Piper PA-12 who was killed in Middle Township on Saturday. And President Joe Biden has tested positive for COVID-19. The White House says he's fully vaccinated and has been boosted twice. He is in isolation at the White House. Get more South Jersey information right now on our app. Your forecast is next.
You finally got that new car, so you called your insurance company.
Your call is important to us. Please hold.
We are the tippy top, we're top insurance. You ended that call with their jingle stuck in your head. Then you called NJM.
Thanks for calling NJM Insurance. This is Claudia. Let's see if we can save you up to 25% on your auto insurance.
No jingles or mascots, just great insurance. Visit NJM.com for a quote.
From the Town Square, New Jersey Info and Weather Network, I'm Chief Meteorologist Dan Zarrow. Widespread 90s, at least, are in the forecast through Monday. Hot stuff, but at least dew points and humidity will fall back a little bit for tomorrow. Partly cloudy and muggy tonight, low 74. Tomorrow's high 94, slightly less humid with mostly sunny skies. More sweltering sunshine on Saturday, high of 92, 98 on Sunday. Get weather 24/7 wherever you are. Download our free mobile app today.
This summer, it's playtime in Atlantic City. Play all day, play all night, and always play to win. Visit AtlanticCityNJ.com to press play and win big.
Now, back to the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN.
Josh Hennig here, filling for Mike Gill on the Sports Bash, 97.3 ESPN FM. It's been a crazy sports day between the Sixers news coming out. I mean, the Harden news came out around 7-something last night, it seemed like. The Sixers arena news this morning. Quarterback news the last 24 hours. Jimmy Garoppolo news yesterday. The Kyler Murray and Lamar Jackson news today. We will get to all the headlines in just a bit. Of course, you can also keep sending a text in at 609-403-0973 is the text board. You also can DM the show through 97.3 ESPN mobile app. On the phone line right now, 609-573-3776. I'm being told Chris in South Jersey is calling in. Chris, what's on your mind?
Hey, how are you? Are you there?
Yes, Chris, how you doing?
Hey, I'm a big fan of the show. I heard just now, I didn't get to the radio until just now, but what I had two questions with the Flyers and San Fran. I'm not a San Fran fan at all. I'm a Raider fan, but anyway, I love the Eagles. But anyway, and the Flyers. But San Fran, what I don't understand is 2 years ago, if Jimmy Garoppolo they already wanted to get rid of him. He gets them to the Super Bowl. They lost. No big deal. He gets them to the championship game, and they still want to get rid of him. Why? Do you have any idea?
Well, I would say the easiest explanation is, it's one, the fact that Jimmy's been injured multiple times in his time in San Francisco. He's very rarely been healthy for a full season is the first thing I would point to. And the second thing is the 49ers organization has invested a lot of draft assets and capital in Trey Lance. And, Kyle Shanahan, don't forget, this is a guy who he dictates a lot of that offense. Yeah, John Lynch may be the GM, but the coach dictates a lot of that roster. So I'm sure that's a part of him and his coaching staff that is salivating over Trey Lance. Whether Lance is ready or not, for all we know, Lance may not even be ready. But for whatever reason, they're infatuated with getting him on the field.
Which is weird because if he's ready or not, well, say he's not ready, then they're going to be like, wow, we got rid of Jimmy.
Yep.
And then that sucks. So they're throwing the dice.
Yeah.
But one other question real quick before I don't want to get hung up on the Flyers, which it really bothers me how they just fell apart the last year and a half, but whatever. That really bothers me. But how did they get Tony D'Angelo or whatever? And then who the hell was that? It was with the Rangers and they didn't do anything. They just said, no, we're done. Doesn't that bother you at all?
Oh, it bothers.
Just, gave up.
Chris, listen, it bothers me a lot really quick. And you can respond here in a moment. Hear me out for a sec. To me, I felt the Flyers waved the white flag. To me, they had an opportunity. According to Johnny Gaudreau wanted to be here. All the reports were out there that he wanted to come home. He's from South Jersey. He wanted to be a Flyer.
To be here,
right? But
exactly.
Chuck
That's what
Fletcher.
I don't understand, and
Chuck Fletcher did not want to trade a first-round pick to get rid of JVR's contract. So instead of doing what was necessary to win, he waved the white flag for whatever reason, and now the Flyers look like a bunch of idiots.
That's exactly, and they have been for the last 2 years. But what I don't understand, Josh, is why? There's got to be they're not. Are they tanking? Or why would you get a good player or two good players and then do this garbage? I don't get it.
I hear you, Chris. I appreciate you calling in, and I appreciate you refraining from cursing there, saying garbage instead of something else. Listen, it is garbage because, and I mentioned this earlier in the week, Chris, and I appreciate you checking into the show. It's one of those things where, it's not every day that guys want to come to Philadelphia. Whether you're a Philly sports fan or not, we all know that Philadelphia is not a destination city for free agents. Guys are not lining up every offseason in baseball and hockey and football and basketball and being like, you know where I've always wanted to play? Philadelphia. Like, that doesn't happen in Philadelphia sports. You don't have to be a Philly sports fan to know that, okay? You know, they let Jimmy Butler leave, okay? Now the Flyers don't bring in Johnny Gaudreau. Remember years ago they sent Brian Dawkins packing before he was ready to end his career. Reggie White left Philadelphia and went to Green Bay. Philadelphia is not a place where people like to go. So when a guy is saying, I want to be here like Johnny Gaudreau, you got to move heaven and earth to get that guy. You got to say, this guy is a star player. I want to bring him to my team. But instead of doing that, they waved the white flag like a bunch of wimps who weren't willing to do whatever. They said themselves, this was an aggressive retool. That was the Flyers' own words at their press conferences. They went from aggressive retool to basically just saying, we don't feel like doing what it takes. And I think that's a huge problem. And I think that's part of the reason why Chuck Fletcher will not be the GM in a couple of years with his organization, why John Tortorella is going to wonder why he even took this job. And the players are going to be like, oh, look, another year where we wasted time. Nobody knows when Ryan Ellis is coming back. The reports are that this guy has a dispute with the Flyers. Apparently, the Flyers think he needs surgery, and apparently he says, I don't need surgery. So there's this whole ambiguity about his future. So you may have no Ryan Ellis next year. You're going to have no Johnny Gaudreau because now he's in Columbus. You're going to hope that Tortorella can get something out of Provorov and Konechny and these young guys and elevate their game. Hopefully, maybe, we don't know. And best case scenario, you're going to need Hayes, Provorov, Konechny, Atkinson, Couturier to all have stellar years next year is the only hope you have of the postseason. Because at the end of the day, Tortorella is known for playing aggressive, fundamental defense. So we know the defense in front of Carter Hart's going to be better. But if your offensive guys don't produce, it doesn't matter. Look at the Pittsburgh Penguins. Every year, you know, Malkin, Crosby, their stars show up every single year. And they've been through, 2 million coaches in the last 15 years? It feels like every 3 years they're firing the coach out there in Pittsburgh. But you know who's still there? It's still the star players every single year doing their job. They may change the goalie. They may change the head coach, but the stars show up. At the end of the day, the Flyers stars don't show up. It doesn't matter. Chuck Fletcher's going to get fired. The head coach is going to need some stiff drinks after every game each night. It's going to be a long Flyers season. I'm telling you right now. Good call from Chris over at 609-573-3776. Speaking of, he mentioned Jimmy Garoppolo. So yesterday the news was that Jimmy Garoppolo, is given permission to seek a trade, which I think is insane. I mean, why'd you wait until July 20th to give him permission to seek a trade? I mean, don't tell me you were waiting for a medical clearance, right? That's just hogwash. A guy can seek a trade and then get cleared medically and then get traded. Okay, I mean, it's not crazy. Okay, but apparently for them it is crazy. Well, there's two more bits of NFL news today with quarterbacks. So we saw earlier today that Kyler Murray got what he wanted. He got his money. He got his extension. According to reports out there, the Kyler Murray is getting a contract worth up to $230.5 million, which makes his contract worth more than Deshaun Watson's. Now, it's only $160 million guaranteed. So the money breakdown in this is very fascinating because what the Cardinals are basically doing is they're giving Kyler Murray most of the money up front, okay? Of the $160 million guaranteed, the majority of that money he's going to get in the first couple of years of the contract. So what that tells you is that Kyler Murray is basically being told, here's your money, here's your contract, now produce. That's what this is screaming to me. This deal is screaming to me. They're like, look, take the money and do something with it. And by the way, speaking of the Browns and Deshaun Watson, I don't know if you guys saw this news today. So, you know how we don't know what's going on with Deshaun Watson? Well, I think the Browns might be telling us what's going on with him. According to Jeremy Fowler of ESPN, the Browns are bringing in not one, but 2 quarterbacks to work out before the start of training camp. So just this week, the Falcons released Josh Rosen. Browns calling him in for a workout. Excuse me. Excuse me. So Josh Rosen is going from Atlanta potentially to Cleveland. And now former Alabama quarterback A.J. McCarron is working out too. They already have Jacoby Brissett. You have to wonder, do the Browns know that Watson's going to miss more time than we realize? Because you don't bring in a former first-round pick in Rosen and a veteran backup in McCarron to work out for you just before the start of camp if you don't think that Watson's going to be out for a long period of time and you might be rocking and rolling with Jacoby Brissett. Listen, Colt fans know how that worked out. They missed the playoffs with Jacoby Brissett. They made the playoffs with Luck. They made the playoffs with Rivers. They missed the playoffs with Brissett. And, don't forget, Brissett was supposed to be this, this one of the many quarterbacks to, come out of the Patriot way, right? He was in New England at the same time with Jimmy Garoppolo and Tom Brady and all those guys. And the idea was, hey, look, the Colts got this caliber of backup. So if something happens, he can, and it's not that he played horribly down with Indianapolis, but he's not a high-level quarterback. Listen, they brought him in last year to be the backup in Miami because they didn't trust Tua, and he couldn't even steal the job from Tua. Ryan Fitzpatrick stole the job from Tua previously. Jacoby Brissett couldn't do that. So you're talking about a Browns team that right now, the only guys on the roster heading into camp are Brissett, Deshaun Watson, and Tennessee legend Josh Dobbs. Yeah, the Josh Dobbs, who was the engineering major at Tennessee with a 4.0 GPA, but he's not good enough to play quarterback in the NFL. That's why the Steelers got rid of him. He's their third-string quarterback. So now you're bringing in McCarron and Josh Rosen. That's a clear signal to me that the Browns think that Watson's going to miss a significant amount of time. All right, we'll check in with more what you guys have to say on the other side. Josh Hennig filling in for Mike Gill here on the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN FM. Don't forget, still to come, Bryan Toporek, co-host of the NBA podcast, and Forbes Sports will give more perspective on Sixers are going to build their own arena with their own money. And James Harden, as everybody projected, signed for way less money than he could have gotten. We'll get into all that and more in the 5 o'clock hour. But on the other side, your guys' thoughts and comments on the text board, on the phones, on the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Sea Isle City.
The best way to wake up is with Keyshawn, J. Will, and Max. Weekday mornings at 6 on 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app.
It's a crime to pay more than a dime.
Every vehicle, one dime down.
At the all-new Springfield Mitsubishi, Atlantic City. SpringfieldMitsu.com.
You could save big when you bundle your home and auto with Progressive, but when we just come out and say it, it feels like it falls a bit flat. So we're going to sing it.
We're singing words now.
We'll even sing the business part.
Save big when you bundle your home and auto with Progressive.
Now, that's a commercial you'll remember, even if you don't remember the bundle and save with Progressive part.
We're singing a commercial.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Discount not available in all states or situations.
This is the end of the jingle. A jingle about insurance.
Pete's property manager just took an extended vacation. He needs a replacement before this becomes a cruel summer.
You wanted the lakefront for the 17th. How did this get double booked already?
Indeed can help him hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. We instantly connect you with quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your job description. Earn up to $500 in sponsored job credits by conducting interviews on Indeed. Visit Indeed.com/credit. Terms and conditions apply.
Come on, giddy up. Get a move on.
Where are we going, Tex? Tombstone, Abilene, Dodge City?
Nope, we're headed east. We gotta get going. We still got a long ride in front of us, and I ain't gonna miss Chicken Palooza for nothing.
It's Royal Farms Chicken Palooza with great chicken box, sandwich deals, and more all summer long. Get a 2-piece world-famous box, white or dark meat, for just $6, and 10 cents of each sale will be donated to local charities. You can also get a classic, spicy, or deluxe world-famous chicken sandwich. Plus, you can register for a chance to win world-famous chicken for a year. Royal Farms Chicken Palooza. Nobody wants to miss it.
Come on, you horsies. We're almost there.
Real fresh, real fast. Royal Farms. No purchase necessary to enter or win. Sweepstakes ends August 31st, 2022. Chicken for a year prize to be awarded as 8 $100 Royal Farms gift cards. For details and official rules, visit royalfarms.com/chicken-palooza-sweepstakes. Void where prohibited. Sponsored by Royal Farms.
This is your captain speaking. You better buckle your seatbelts for this one. I noticed my passport was due to expire, so I went to Staples. I got a passport photo in 10 minutes, so we're good to go.
Now at Staples, get 20% off travel products when you purchase a passport photo. Get travel ready at Staples, your one-stop travel prep destination.
Hey, let me tell you about another time that Staples saved my caboose. That all started back.
N731, in-store only. Excludes Instacart orders, certain products, services, and technology. See staplesconnect.com/services/travel for details.
O'Reilly. This is Claudia's O'Reilly Auto Parts story.
I had just moved to a new city and barely even knew where the grocery store was yet. When my car wouldn't start one morning, I didn't know who to ask about local shops. But I remembered a name from back home, O'Reilly Auto Parts. I called and they pointed me to a great mechanic just down the street. Now I feel a little more at home.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
When you're an innovative business, every blinking cursor, every blank page is an opportunity. What will you do with it? Will you make something better or create something new? Our Dell Technologies advisors provide you with tools and expertise to do incredible things. Because we believe there's an innovator in all of us. For advice on smart PCs powered by Intel V Pro that's built for business, call a Dell Technologies advisor at 877-ASK-DELL.
School's out, but we are rewriting the math. 0 + 0 = 1 heck of a great deal at Matt Blatt Nissan. That's right, 0 down, 0 payments for 3 full months, and 0 mistaking. That only Matt Blatt Nissan has brand new 2022 Nissan Armadas discounted $5,000 off. Plus, buy with peace of mind with our 4-day love it or leave it return policy. Don't see your Matt Blatt Nissan on the lot? Don't worry, you could be driving it home tomorrow.
Oh yeah, it's on at Matt Blatt Nissan.
Plus, if you're stuck in a loan or lease, AJ the Trade Man can get you released even if you owe thousands more than it's worth. With 0 down, 0 payments for 90 days, and 1.9% financing. Only at MattBlattNissan.com. On approved Tier 1 credit through NEMAC. Negative equity will be refinanced into new vehicle plus tax tag and $479 doc fee. Offers can't be combined. Call 877-289-6670 or go to MattBlattNissan.com for complete details. Offer ends 8/7/2022. It's on at Matt Blatt Nissan on the Black Horse Pike. Egg Harbor Township.
Now, back to more Sports Bash with Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN, South Jersey's sports leader.
All right, still to come here on the Sports Bash. Josh Hennig filling for Mike Gill here on 97.3 ESPN FM, 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank CLC. Bryan Toporek from the NBA podcast and Sports NBA writer. We'll get into more of the details about if James Harden re-signs for that deal that we all expected around $33 million. It looks like what Harden said to Chris Haynes is true, that he basically told Daryl Morey and the Sixers, you spend money on who you need to spend money on and give me what's left over. Well, it seems like that's what they did. Also, we've been getting a ridiculous tons of reaction throughout the day to the Sixers news with the arena. A lot of people, a lot of conflicted opinions. Okay. There are a lot of people who, like Mike in the HT over on the text board at 609-403 says, after hearing all this with the Sixers, it's just turned me right off. I will not be doing this, going to the arena with public transportation. And I'm sure that there's a lot of people like Mike. Look, you know, we had the guy from Delaware who chimed this is about, he doesn't like the idea of putting his kids on the bus or the train and riding up into the city. He would rather drive, and now driving is a little more complicated. I mentioned earlier in the show, it's Billy Schweim's birthday, the host of The Locker Room on 97.3 ESPN. And I mentioned earlier, you map out a scenario. Billy Schweim, he has a daughter, and his twin brother, Bobby, he has boys. So let's say Bobby and Billy said they're going to take all their kids to a game. And I said, look, if you are having to go to a game, you're already spending a ton of money between the parking, the tickets, the concessions. You're doling out, and even by apparel, you're doling out hundreds of dollars. You're probably into like the $400 or $500 range at that point, at minimum. Well, now you're asking somebody with kids, let's say it's Bobby and Billy, get together. Bobby takes his boys, Billy grabs his daughter, they have to put them all in the car, they drive up to the game. Now, instead of going to the sports complex, parking in the parking lot and walking into the arena, now you're saying, okay, now you got to go find one of the 29 parking garages that's within a half a mile. Half a mile is not that close, by the way, okay? It's not that far if you're, walking on the boardwalk in Ocean City or Sea Isle or something. It's a lot farther if you're having to walk through the streets of Philadelphia, through, past City Hall or whatever direction you're coming from. And now you're asking Billy and Bobby Schwein to evaluate which parking lot has the least amount of money, which one's $30, which one's $20. And then you're having to go to the game. You're spending a ton of money on, I guarantee you these tickets for the new arena are not going to be cheap. Okay. Let's be realistic. They're going to maximize that dollar value. All right. So for the average person going to a game, this is going to be problematic. This is going to be, look, either the economy's got to make a massive rebound and inflation's got to go away and everything's got to get cheaper, or there's a lot of people who are going to be priced out of games. One of the problems with the Warriors, they talked about their new arena, is that there's a lot of economists who are saying that they are now pricing the diehard fan out of the game. And a lot of people who are buying tickets are the people who go to the game to be seen to be trendy, right? So do the Sixers fall into the trap of, pricing the diehard Sixer fan out of the game? Hopefully they're not. Hopefully the Sixers have enough self-awareness to say that we got to find a way to make sure that these parking prices don't get out of hand. We got to make sure that these tickets don't become so expensive people can't afford them. We got to make sure that we don't outprice the average fan who's not making hundreds of thousands of dollars. Not everyone is out there making $300, $400, $500, $600, $700. The majority of fans who go to games are probably making somewhere between, $40,000 and $95,000 a year. And when you got a mortgage to pay for, you got a car payment, you got insurance, you got to pay the stupid Comcast bill, which is out the wazoo. You got to pay for all these digital streaming platforms so you can watch your games and watch TV shows. And then you want to go to a game and they're asking you to pay hundreds of dollars to go. That's tough pill to swallow.
This weekend on ESPN Radio.
Swinging a high fly out to deep left field. Pete Alonso goes yard into the bullpen.
With the All-Star break behind us, we head to Citi Field in Queens, New York, where the NL East leading New York Mets welcome Manny Machado and the San Diego Padres. The Mets and Padres. Coverage begins Saturday at 6:30 Eastern and Sunday at 6 Eastern.
Listen to Major League Baseball on 97.3 ESPN.
I want the truth.
You can't handle the truth.
Did you take those big down payments?
You're darn right I did.
Your Honor, he is breaking the laws of Springfield Mitsubishi, Atlantic City. They made it clear. It's a crime to pay more than a dime. Every new Mitsubishi, one dime down.
Take them away. And at Springfield Mitsubishi, Atlantic City, ask for credit amnesty.
If you bring home $350 a week, you could get up to $25,000 in credit. So, what's the beat on inventory?
Other dealers are struggling, but not Springfield Mitsubishi, Atlantic City. 40 new Outlanders in stock now. An entire fleet of new and pre-owned. New Mitsubishis from just $17,000.
It's a crime to pay more than a dime.
Every vehicle, one dime down.
At the all-new Springfield Mitsubishi, Atlantic City.
In Pleasantville, they service all makes and models.
Springfield MitsubishiAC.com. Springfield MitsubishiAC.com.
New 22 Mirage, 16.4, down, $249 a month for 72 months at 3% APR, plus tax tag title to qualified buyers.
Yeah, it's Coach Ice-T. Who's ready to spin? We're starting with a big hill. Let's ride.
Why is Ice-T leading our spin class?
It's probably the Honey Nut Cheerios. He found out they can help lower cholesterol. Now he's having fun taking care of his heart in all sorts of new ways.
That's right, Buzz. Now, spinners, really pour your heart into it and pick it up.
Learn more by picking up a box of Cheerios and check out our Pour Your Heart Into It audio workouts with Ice-T and Buzz to get your heart pumping.
Mike Gill for my friends at Ambient Comfort Heating and Cooling Professionals, where they are celebrating their 11th anniversary. That's 11 years of experience making sure our families are comfortable and our heating and cooling systems are working effectively, safely, and cost efficiently. In honor of their anniversary, Ambient Comfort is offering $50 off any repair. There are many hot days ahead. We've talked about the signs that your system may need repair. If you're not comfortable or you suspect a problem, don't wait. Call Ambient Comfort. You can trust Ambient Comfort to keep your family cool for the rest of the summer. They can repair any system regardless of who originally installed it. To help you save energy and increase the life of your system, join me in celebrating Ambient Comfort's 11th anniversary with $50 off repairs. Go to AmbientComfortNJ.com. That's AmbientComfortNJ.com or call 856-213-6586. Tell them Mike Gill sent you.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today? Starting trouble. No one likes that. We'll get you set up for some stronger starts. You might just need a fresh charge, and we'll take care of that free of charge. But if it is time for a new battery, we've got replacement batteries that'll fit your needs, starting at just $69.99. You can learn more about our battery selection at AutoZone.com. That's what makes us America's #1 battery destination.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Claim based on data from the NPD Group 2021.
You have the choice, whether it's going out to dinner or ordering takeout at a local restaurant or buying that new outfit from a local boutique. Those choices help to put money back into your community. And Town Square Media South Jersey puts a spotlight on local businesses. Made Anew Home Remodeling. Make your dreams a reality. MadeAnewHomeRemodeling.com. Dr. Lyle M. Back for everything skincare to cosmetic surgery. Go to ILoveLyleBack.com. Comfort Now by Bob McAllister. Improve the comfort in your home. Call 609-400-1005 and ask about discounts, rebates, and incentives. Online, IWantComfortNow.com. Maurice Piers. For tickets and passes, visit MauricePiers.com. East Coast Roofing, Siding, and Windows serves all of South Jersey. If you call, they'll show up. Call East Coast today at 609-646-1444. Online at eastcoastroofing.com. Thank you for supporting your local businesses from Town Square Media, South Jersey.
South Jersey's play-by-play home for the Eagles,
Touchdown!
Sixers, and Flyers.
Oh, big save by Carter Hart.
97.3 ESPN, WENJ, WENJ HD Millville, Atlantic City, a Town Square media station. This is the Sports Bash with Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN. Now, live inside the Matt Black Kia Studios, here's Mike Gill.
Josh Hennig filling for Mike Gill here on the Sports Bash, 97.3 ESPN FM, 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle City. 5 o'clock hour driving you home. Boy, it's been a crazy day. I mean, it's the flood of people responding to the Sixers news today. But it's not the Harden news. I have gotten 90% of feedback at 609-403-0973 on the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle City. We're even getting calls today wanting to talk about the arena that's coming in 2031. You gotta love it. Only Philadelphia fans get passionate like this. Like, nobody cared when the Barclays Center was built in New York. They were indifferent, probably. You know the Phoenix Coyotes are playing at Arizona State University next year. Nobody cares. Sixers are building an arena with their own money in 10 years, and everybody cares. Meanwhile, I got a poll question I'm going to ask Bryan Toporek here as well. He is the co-host of the NBA podcast as well. as Forbes Sports NBA Wire to get more into the James Harden news, as well as the Sixers building their own arena with their own money. Bryan, first of all, welcome to the show. Welcome to the 5 o'clock hour. How you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you, Josh?
Doing good. So I'm going to ask you the poll question. So right now I'm doing a poll question each day. I'm filling in for Mike Gill here. So for those who didn't know, maybe you did hear about it because Bryan is typically more tuned in than the average person about different things that are not just sports. So Netflix has lost more than 1 million subscribers this year. They lost 1 million in the second quarter, 300,000 in the first quarter. So in the light of the Netflix news, the top 4 most subscribed to streaming platforms are still Netflix number 1, Hulu 2, Disney Plus is now 3, Amazon Prime is 4. When you're not watching sports, Bryan, which digital streaming platform are you going to?
Ooh, I honestly use all of them. I have a 1-year-old, so I'm going to guess Disney Plus will soon be my most watched one. Not quite there yet, but give it a year and that will definitely be number 1. But yeah, I dabble, I guess probably Netflix the most. But like I'm catching up. My wife and I are like finishing The Boys right now, so that's Amazon, and HBO. F-Boy Island just came out, so I've gotta watch that. But yeah, I think probably Netflix overall.
So for me, it's probably Disney Plus because everyone knows I'm a diehard comic books guy. So I watch every one of those shows, every one of those movies, every one of those making of documentaries. I watch the whole gambit. I mean, I was even watching the Michael B. Jordan Nat Geo special on Disney Plus. You know, I watched Boba Fett, I watched Obi-Wan Kenobi, I watched all of that. So now I do have my handful of shows. Like I'm working my way through season 8 of The Blacklist and season 5 of Lucifer on Netflix. Now Lucifer is also a comic too. That's Vertigo Comics, by the way. So I watched Titans on HBO Max. So, a lot of my watching is dependent on those things, but I also watch a lot of movies. So, but it's probably for me, Disney Plus right now. The polling, everyone outlet on at 973 ESPN, Netflix is at 37% of the voting. Disney Plus is 31%. Hulu is at a strong 18.8%. And Amazon Prime is in 4th. So that's at least how the voters on Twitter are going, Bryan.
Interesting. Yeah, I did just finish The Flight Attendant on HBO. I feel like we're just both being company men right now. You're plugging Disney, I'm plugging HBO, but The Flight Attendant was very good. I would highly recommend it, especially if you're like me and you're covering the NBA. Like this is our downtime, so this is the time to catch up on everything. So that was one of the ones I've been meaning to watch, and then Better Call Saul was probably Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul was just like the reason Netflix came to mind as my number one, because we got 4 episodes left of Better Call Saul, and I'm definitely going to rewatch all of Breaking Bad after that.
Yeah, so I actually started Lucifer in 2020 when the lockdowns first happened.
Sure.
I got through the first 3 seasons, but then sports came back.
Right.
So then it's been like a delayed progression. The same thing with The Blacklist. I had gotten behind the Blacklist because of sports, and then the lockdowns happened. It's like, oh, Blacklist, pop that in. But then it was like, oh, all these Marvel shows are coming out. And like I said, I'm a sucker for the making of, how they make these shows. I love the behind the scenes, how did we do this? Why did we go here? Like for example, for those who haven't seen the making of Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, the explanation for how they made the New York scenes, I think, is incredible. I don't want to give it away, but how they made that work, it actually makes the movie more impressive to me.
I still haven't even seen the movie, so that's step one.
Well, that's on Disney Plus too, Bryan.
I know. I haven't seen the new Spider-Man, and I thought I had to see that before the Doctor Strange.
You only need to see WandaVision.
Okay, I've seen that. Okay.
Yeah. You know what? A lot of people made that mistake. A lot of people thought I had to see the Spider-Man movie. After watching Doctor Strange and Multiverse of Madness, I realized I didn't need to see the Spider-Man movie first.
Yeah, I tweeted about this the other day, and that was the impression I got. But I figured, like, I know there is a multiverse components in the Spider-Man, so I thought, like, oh well, Doctor Strange has it in the title. I better. But yeah, I haven't seen any of the new Phase 4 movies, but I've seen all of the TV shows. And I'm working my way through Mrs. Marvel now, so.
Gotcha.
It compounds. It's like there's too many of them to keep track of at this point.
The problem with Marvel right now is, and we'll get to the Sixers stuff in just a minute.
Sure.
But listen, it's a 5 o'clock hour drive home. Probably people are driving to the shore right now. You know, we're wearing people's. There's no Phillies on tonight. Well, you're not watching sports tonight or last night. I certainly didn't watch the ESPYs last night. That's for darn sure. I got the highlights of Steph Curry's lame jokes the next day. But look, here's the thing with Marvel really quick. Then we'll get to James Harden and the Sixers moving to a new arena in 2031 here on the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN. Bryan, Toporek, go download, subscribe, give a 5-star review to the NBA podcast. Got that all out of the way. Here's the thing with Marvel. I think the problem that people are running into is that they're not realizing that Phase 4 is a reestablishment foundation phase. That every one of these shows, every one of these movies is like reestablishing the foundation for what's coming, because basically the Endgame movie was the culmination of 10 years of stuff. Right. So now you're having to reestablish everything all over again. So it's like, well, what is Miss Marvel is more connected to Shang-Chi, while, Doctor Strange is more connected to WandaVision, while, the Eternals, no one really knows what they're connected to, even though it's probably a Midnight Sun movie coming out in 2024. And, the Thor movie is connected to Guardians. And they're reestablishing connections that people forget. When the first Avengers movie came out, it was a grand experiment, basically. Marvel was basically like, is this thing going to work? And when they realized it worked, they're just constantly building on things. It's like you can't watch Fast and Furious 9 without watching the previous 10 movies, for goodness sake. You'd be confused as all anything. Or it's like watching the last Harry Potter movie. You'd be like, what the heck is going on here? So when they say this stuff is connected, and by the way, we should note that right now, San Diego Comic-Con is going on right now. So I'm sure at some point this weekend, I'm going to get some trailer I'm going to freak out about. So,
oh yeah, that's a good point. I didn't even realize. That's exciting.
Yeah. So, speaking of exciting, hey, guess what, Bryan? You were right. James Harden didn't just re-sign for less money, but as he told Chris Haynes, I told Daryl Morey to build the team and then give me the leftover money. Well, it seems like that Harden wasn't lying, and all of your articles in Forbes Sports basically just painted the way for the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, and well, what's really remarkable is he didn't even take all that was left over. Like they could have signed him up to about like 36 million and a little bit more, and they still would have been under the apron, which is the line that they can't cross this year because they used the non-taxpayer mid-level exception to sign PJ Tucker, and they used the biannual exception to sign Daniel House Jr. If you use either one of those, you're hard capped. You can't cross the apron, which is about 157 million this year. Once they did all of their moves, and then Harden was the only big piece left, they're about 36 million under. He took 33, so they've got a little bit more than $3 million in wiggle room under the apron, which will give them more flexibility, as Woj mentioned in his story after he announced this deal last night. It gives them more flexibility to pull off moves in season, whether that's another signing, whether it's a trade. If Harden took like every penny up to it, then it was, well, okay, we really are limited in what we can do if we need to sign someone during the season, or if we need to like take back more salary in a trade than we're sending out. So this gives them even more flexibility than he needed to do. Shams Charania reported like a week or two ago that this was the plan. He was going to, his report was he's going to take a $15 million pay cut. Wasn't quite that. It was 14.4 million. But either way, a big sacrifice. And it's what enabled them to get PJ Tucker in particular. Because had he picked up that player option of 47.4 million, they would have been too close to the apron to have the non-taxpayer mid-level, which is what they used for Tucker. They would have only had $6.5 million taxpayer mid-level exception. Tucker could have gotten more in Miami. Other teams are prepared to offer him what the Sixers ultimately did. So had Harden not opted out and done what he did, PJ Tucker isn't a Sixer. And there is a section of Sixers fans that are like, well, he didn't sacrifice that much. And I don't get it. Like he did, he objectively did. You can be concerned about what his next contract looks like in 23-24 if he opts out. And I think that's completely fair. But if you're just evaluating it for this season alone, him taking $14.4 million less is what enabled them to get these other guys and made them a deeper, better team on paper.
So I threw this theory out to the audience earlier in the show, Brian. I'll throw it out to you as well. I think part of the reason why Harden is taking this path, I'm going to take less money. I want to win a championship. I'm all about winning, telling, hottime.com that, I'm focusing on my health. I'm trying to get better, healthy, telling Chris Haynes that the goal is to be the best version of myself physically. I think Harden doesn't want to be this generation's Charles Barkley. I think a lot of these athletes, Brian, we all know it. The entire NBA world watches inside the NBA. But guess what? Nobody tunes in for Kenny Smith. They tune in for Shaq and they tune in for Chuck. And I think that Harden looks around. He sees that Durant's got a ring. Kyrie's got a ring. Anthony Davis has got a ring. Timothy Mozgov's got a ring. All these guys got rings. He don't got a ring, Brian. So I think there's a part of him that looks around and says, even Chris Paul got to an NBA Finals. He hasn't been to the NBA Finals. I think that he says, I don't want to be the Charles Barkley of this generation.
Yeah, and I think they were close enough where him doing this, it wasn't like he needed to take like a minimum deal to do this. It was not like, even you have to take half as much money. Like you're still $33 million is still a lot of money, right? So it is a sacrifice without a question, but it's not like he's still going to be able to put food on the table or go visit whatever establishments he might want to visit throughout the regular season.
Party with Joel Embiid and Aaron Judge a couple days ago.
Sure, yeah. Michael Rubin will, probably he'll never pay for another drink in Philadelphia again. Michael Rubin's got the tab open.
Or is Michael Rubin the minority financer of his wine company? I don't know.
Right. A lot of unanswered questions with that arrangement. But with all of that said, I think what he's doing is because I think he's been transparent. Some people are like, well, he's not like this good Samaritan, altruistic, and he's never said that. He's never saying I did this out of the goodness of my own heart. He told Chris Haynes and he told Beth Harris of the Associated Press, Daryl Morey explained this to me. He said, he sat me down. Maybe he I wrote Forbes articles like an opt out and an opt in scenario. Maybe he just printed those out, handed them to Harden and said, look, if you pick up the option, here's what we're limited to doing. If you don't, if you opt out and take less, here's what we could do. And here are the types of players we can get with the non-taxpayer mid-level and the biannual versus just the taxpayer. And it's up to you, man. You're going to be on this team either way. But if you're willing to take slightly less, the team's going to be better. You're going to have a better chance at winning a ring. Your supporting cast is going to be better. So you might look better because of that. And then that gives you a better chance to cash in next summer when you, again, can become a free agent if things don't go completely off the rails this season.
Now, if I can venture to make this transition, there's a strong possibility that the two best players in this team right now, Harden and Embiid, are not on the team when they enter this new arena in 2031. But with that being said, the two biggest takeaways, so the one takeaway is my personal, and the other one is the listeners, Brian, as we go to the arena, because the James Harden stuff, it kind of is what it is at this point. Like I said, you wrote for weeks about what this was going to be, and it's pretty straightforward at this point that he's here, the money's going to work, they're going to be good.
Yeah.
But the organization has decided to announce this plan today. First of all, the website is over the top, which I expect nothing less of this organization. I feel very comfortable saying that 76th place sounds a little bit like Sesame Place, but I digress.
Sure.
But I will say this. them financing with their own money is a huge move. Because
Yes.
in a world where a lot of teams get public funding and taxpayers a foot part, if not the whole bill, the Sixers organization is being like, we are healthy enough financially that we're just going to do this ourselves.
Yeah, that's what caught my eye more than anything else. Fully privately financed. I mean, not a dime in theory of taxpayer money, where, as you said, like other teams are getting 9 figures in terms of public subsidies. So, the Sixers will then benefit from that as they assuming it all goes well and this thing opens as planned in 2031, 32, they're going to be able to rake all the profits. It's just like what the Warriors did. That Chase Center that they opened a couple years ago was also fully privately financed, and now they are one of the single richest teams in the NBA, both in terms of their overall value and how much money they're willing to shell out on a year-to-year basis for their roster. So I think the Sixers are probably looking at the Warriors as the model that they want to emulate, both on and off the court.
We've also seen a lot of arenas around the country that they're more than arenas, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, for example, you look at, for example, where the Edmonton Oilers play, it's like half mall, half, arena. That's a hockey arena, So, to me, I wouldn't be surprised if this isn't just a basketball arena, considering where it's located, considering who their partners are. There's a possibility that when you go to a Sixers game in 2031, you're also probably shopping for a few other things as well.
Yeah, it sounds like, if I read the FAQ section on their website correctly, still parsing the details, but I think they said half of the space that is currently that mall will still technically be a shopping center / mall / whatever. Like, who knows if it's the same stores in 10 years, but I think you're totally
Probably
right.
not.
I think it will be like a whole entertainment, what they'll call like an entertainment district instead of just a sports stadium. And I think, the cool thing, regardless of what they do with that exact property, it's going to be, as you mentioned, like right in the heart of Center City. So there's going to be a lot to do, even as before the game, after the game. It's not, you're at the sports complex and, you're going to Xfinity Live or you're going home.
Now, the other thing I was saying earlier, Brian, is, people were asking, well, why would there be 2 arenas in a city? And to me, the Flyers have been making the Sixers lease this thing for years.
Mm-hmm.
And from my perspective, look at it like this. Now the Sixers can find a way to not just recoup the money to take to build this thing, but recoup the money from years of leasing, because now they can get into bidding wars with the Wells Fargo Center for concerts, for events, for conventions. This can turn into a very interesting situation where, and listen, I'm not very hip on pop culture, but, I don't even know if Meek Mill will be relevant in 10 years, but
yeah,
I can see Meek Mill having a concert here because he loves the Sixers. I can see them calling Miley Cyrus's people and being like, hey, we'll give you a better offer than the Wells Fargo Center will. Like, I could totally this turning into a Sixers finding unique ways. I mean, maybe a comic book convention goes to their arena instead of the Philadelphia Convention Center by then.
Right. And you're not going to have to compete with the Flyers for dates either. So I don't know if that's a huge consideration, but like sharing that space with another team is probably a headache for the NBA and NHL schedule makers. I know they did address like why do we need 2 stadiums? That is on the FAQ section of their website. And they, I think their overall point was they are not the only professional basketball team where that would be the case. There are plenty of cities where they have a basketball arena and a hockey arena, both for NBA and NHL teams.
Bryan Toporek, he's the co-host of the NBA podcast, also NBA writer for Forbes Sports, joining us here on the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN. Josh Hennig filling in for Mike Gill. By the way, I should note that Tom from the Villa says we can talk Marvel as much as we want. So
nice. Okay.
At least the listeners support our deviation from the sports topics today. But back to the arena thing, you mentioned about how other cities do this too. Mm-hmm. And my only concern is those other cities have a built-in like explanation for why it's different. Like, for example, the Barclays Center is owned by the Nets. Jim Dolan owns Madison Square Garden, right? So it's completely different ownership situations. I mentioned what's going on in Arizona, where the Coyotes, the Diamondbacks, and the Suns have all completely different ownership situations, So like a lot of these different parts of the country where there are different arenas, it is different ownership situations. I think people forget that, Comcast hasn't owned the Sixers in 12 years. So it's like, to me, I think what gets forgotten in all this is, despite the fact of the kumbaya situation of the sports complex in South Philadelphia, the reality is that there's no dual ownership of any of these teams in Philadelphia.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think they're overall, it sounds like they have multiple reasons they want to pursue this, and they have been pursuing this. They had the Penn's Landing proposed location fall through a couple of years ago. I think accessibility is the thing that, when you're just reading through like their press release and this new 76place.com website, they just keep mentioning like this is going to be so much more accessible via public transit than the current Wells Fargo Center. So, I've seen plenty of reaction from Sixers fans today, both positive and negative about this.
Yep.
I don't think it's going to please everyone, right? Like it's going to make it harder for some people to get to Sixers games if this does, if it's constructed where they're proposing it and everything goes as planned. Like I've heard, especially from people in South Jersey, they said, my commute is X. When I go to the Wells Fargo Center, it will be like probably twice as long if I'm going into the center city.
Yep.
But at the same time, you're also going to reach a lot of people who might not feel like they can go to Sixers games right now, or they can't go consistently to Sixers games right now. But if it's on, however many public transit lines that it's going to be on, maybe they're more willing to go to games. So I think they're trying to reach a new subsect of fans that might not be able to access the team in its current location. And, you brought up other cities. Like I lived in Washington for about 8 years. So what is now the Capital One Arena used to be the Verizon Center where the Washington Wizards play. That's right downtown. That's right in the middle of Chinatown. There's a metro stop 1 block away. So a lot of people would go take that to get to the game. There were private parking facilities all around. So, if you're coming in from the suburbs or you're coming in from a place where you don't have access to the metro, like you can still drive to the game. But I think you're cutting down on the amount of people driving, first of all.
Right.
And you're just giving more people access, because if you can get on the red line to go to Chinatown, you're within a 1 block walk of the game. So I think it sounds like that is their major reason that they want to do this thing.
Yeah, let's be realistic. This is about the people who are in the city and commute into the city via public transportation more than anything else. Yeah. And that's really, before I let you go, the only gripe that I have, which is us here in South Jersey. We've had people messaging into the show from Delaware, and they've all said, look, for us, we're not in the positions always to get on public transportation to get to these games. Mm-hmm. And the concern is that anyone who comes down to the Jersey Shore in the summer, this time of year, Wildwood, Ocean City, Atlantic City, you're driving around. What do you see? One parking lot's 15, one parking lot's 25, one parking lot's 30.
Yeah.
The city and the Sixers have to find a way to make sure that, as they call it, the 29 parking garages within walking distance, that there's no price gouging, that there's no people manipulating, anything just because it's Sixers night, like they do.
Right.
Because they do it in South Jersey, Brian. You go to Wildwood on a Saturday night. The price on that parking lot for public parking is about $15 more than it is the rest of the week. Same thing in Atlantic City.
Yeah, no, I think that's absolutely, like, this is the beauty of them having 10 years to figure this thing out, right? Like they've released the preliminary details today. I think they said like the planning alone is supposed to be the next 3 years of this time. Yeah, right. Like design is 24 through 26. Construction doesn't even start.
Demolition is 2026. Construction is 2027 or 2028.
Right. So they have years to figure this thing out. For all we know, there could be like twice as many parking garages there in the next 10 years. It's hard to predict what that area is going to look like by the time they finish this thing up. But I'm sure as they get closer, they're going to start hearing more and more logistical concerns from fans. And I think that is absolutely something that they're going to want to keep an eye on. A friend of mine who's in the like city planning, urban planning, mentioned an idea today, like maybe you have some sort of real time, like someone is being fed information of like which parking lots still have spaces and which don't. I don't even know if that technology exists right now or such that you can like transmit that to someone else. But again,
maybe that's what Michael Rubin's next project is. He's going to
right. Like 8 or 9 years from now, who knows where we're going to be. So I'm sure they're aware of, the potential challenges that will arise from not having their own designated parking lots. And they're not trying to say no one can drive to these games anymore, but I think they are trying to encourage more people to take public transit to cut down on traffic. So you're not stuck in like 2 hours getting out of the arena every night. And also, for environmental reasons as well.
Well, let's be realistic. The other side of this is at the end of the day, the Sixers are going to make more money than they lose ultimately with this. So that's a big part of it, but it's a hot topic. A lot of people have mixed opinions about it, and I'm sure we'll be talking about it for the next 10 years. He's Bryan Toporek at B Toporek on Twitter, where he doesn't have to wonder about when James Harden signs officially anymore. Now he can worry about the parking garage situation in 2031.
I'm excited to report on that for the next 9 years. Really, really looking forward to it.
When you get around to watching Doctor Strange, let me know what you think. Okay.
Yes, I definitely, we got 3 episodes of The Boys left, and then the calendar clears up.
The Boys also based on a comic book.
Yes. A little different than I went from watching Mrs. Marvel to The Boys, and the
oh, that's a very big difference. Yeah.
right. A little bit.
Bryan, take care of yourself. Appreciate you jumping on today.
You too, Josh. Take care.
Josh Hennig here, filling in for Mike Gill on the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN. Yes, the poll question is up at 973 ESPN. I want to know from you guys out there listening, the news of Netflix this week was they've lost 1 million subscribers in the second quarter. Conveniently, Disney Plus gained 1 million subscribers in the second quarter. So I ask you at 973 ESPN, when you're not watching sports, what is your go-to digital streaming platform? For me, it's typically Disney Plus. I know for Bryan, he said he dabbles in a little bit of everything. Well, right now, 37% of you say it is still Netflix, 31% go Disney Plus, 18% go Hulu, 12% go Amazon Prime. You can vote as well at 973 ESPN on Twitter. More your texts on the other side. Cole from LBI, your texts and more as we, get back to you guys out there listening. 609-403-0973 is the text board, and you can DM the show through the 973 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Sea Isle.
When you need live sports play-by-play.
Forget it. Out of here. Reese Hoskins will touch them all over that right center field wall.
And the best sports talk in South Jersey. There's only one place to go. 97.3 ESPN.
Calling Philly sports fans. Travel with the pros at Philly Sports Trips. If you're a diehard Philly fan looking for some great Philly sports road trips, it's time to check out the full trip lineup at phillysportstrips.com.
Things are a bit tight lately. That's why I love Kohl's. I went back to school shopping and got kids' clothes for under $6, sneakers for less than $20, and an extra 20% off already great deals, like 25% off backpacks. And get this, you can save more with the Kohl's card and earn Kohl's Cash. Talk about more style and more savings. Select styles, 20% offer ends July 24th. Some exclusions apply. See store or Kohl's.com for details.
I want the truth.
You can't handle the truth.
Did you take those big down payments?
You're darn right I did.
Your Honor, he is breaking the laws of Springfield Mitsubishi, Atlantic City. They made it clear. It's a crime to pay more than a dime. Every new Mitsubishi, one dime down.
Take them away.
And at Springfield Mitsubishi, Atlantic City, ask for credit amnesty.
If you bring home $350 a week, you could get up to $25,000 in credit. So, what's the beat on inventory?
Other dealers are struggling, but not Springfield Mitsubishi, Atlantic City. 40 new Outlanders in stock now. An entire fleet of new and pre-owned. New Mitsubishis from just $17,000.
It's a crime to pay more than a dime.
Every vehicle, one dime down.
At the all-new Springfield Mitsubishi, Atlantic City.
In Pleasantville, they service all makes and models.
Springfield Mitsubishi AC.com. Springfield Mitsubishi AC.com.
New 22 Mirage, 16.9 down, $249 a month for 72 months at 3% APR, plus tax tag title to qualified buyers.
This advertisement is paid for by Lacuna Ventures LLC. For terms and conditions, visit yourrights.legal. Attention! If you or someone you know spent time at Camp Lejeune, North Carolina prior to 1988 and developed serious health conditions such as non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, lung cancer, bladder, breast, or kidney cancer, you may be eligible for significant financial compensation. Call Camp Lejeune victims to discuss your case now at 800-260-3257. Leaking underground tanks contaminated the drinking water with benzene and other highly carcinogenic chemicals, up to 280 times acceptable levels. Marines, their families, contractors, or employees who spent at least 30 days at Marine Corps Base Camp Lejeune prior to 1988 and developed a serious health condition, called to determine your eligibility for financial compensation. If you don't win, you pay nothing. It's critical to take action and call now. 800-260-3257. That's 800-260-3257. Again, 800-260-3257.
This is the Town Square, New Jersey Info and Weather Network.
With South Jersey information you need to know, I'm Vin Avenue. Galloway Township Police say a daycare worker is charged with simple assault and child endangerment. A celebration of life will be held tonight for the pilot of a Piper PA-12 who was killed in Middle Township on Saturday. And President Joe Biden has tested positive for COVID-19. The White House says he's fully vaccinated and has been boosted twice. He is in isolation at the White House. Get more South Jersey information right now on our app. Your forecast is next.
Do you have questions about Medicare? For personalized guidance from a local Medicare expert counselor, call the SHIP hotline. SHIP is the state health insurance assistance program that provides unbiased help to beneficiaries, their families, and caregivers. Free. Call SHIP today at 1-800-792-8820, 800-792-8820, or visit aging.nj.gov. This ad made possible by the New Jersey Division of Aging Services with funds from the U.S. Administration for Community Living.
From the Town Square, New Jersey Info and Weather Network, I'm Chief Meteorologist Dan Zarrow. Widespread 90s, at least, are in the forecast through Monday. Hot stuff, but at least dew points and humidity will fall back a little bit for tomorrow. Partly cloudy and muggy tonight, low 74. Tomorrow's high 94, slightly less humid with mostly sunny skies. More sweltering sunshine on Saturday, high of 92, 98 on Sunday. Get weather 24/7 wherever you are. Download our free mobile app today.
We're Town Square Media, and along with the awesome radio station you're listening to right now, we're publishers of best-in-class national entertainment brands like Taste of Country, Pop Crush, and more. And when combined with our local brands, we can reach over 70% of consumers in our community. At Town Square, all this digital clout puts us in a unique position to help local businesses grow with powerful marketing solutions. In addition to local radio, we're experts at web design and SEO, plus targetable advertising solutions like streaming TV, addressable geofencing, YouTube, Snapchat, Facebook, Spotify, search engine marketing, and so much more. That may sound like a lot of buzzwords, but really all that matters is we can deliver a relevant and ideal target audience to your business with data-informed decisions. No guessing, no waste, and you gain a trusted marketing partner with Town Square Media.
Take your business to the next level. Call our Director of Sales, Jim McLean, today at 609-910-5247.
Now, back to more Sports Bash with Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN, South Jersey's sports leader.
5 o'clock hour, the Sports Bash here on 97.3 ESPN, being brought to you by the Garden State Beer Company. At Garden State Beer Company in Galloway, their motto is a beer for everyone. Contact them today at 609-232-BEER for the Garden State Beer Company. Get back to you guys' thoughts and comments in just a bit. Text board is open, 609-403-0967. 0973. You also can DM the show through the 973 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Sea Isle. Throughout the show, we've gotten a crazy variety of opinions on this Sixers Arena thing. And, you know, it's like John in Brigantine who says, hey, you know, I can take public transportation all the way from Brigantine to a Sixers game and never drive my car. And he's fine with that idea. Then you have, you know, someone in Delaware who texted in who says, hey, I have kids. I can't put my kids on public transportation. I need to drive them. Having the Sixers Arena in South Philly is convenient for me to get to. Driving all the way in the center city and then walking potentially half a mile with my kids, that gets complicated. You know, so there's going to be different perspectives on this. And listen, we're all being realistic. Who really knows if you know, putting this arena near public transportation is really going to do that much to you know, change that my main traffic patterns. I mean, sure, you take less people from South Philadelphia, but maybe you just change where the traffic is going. You know, someone mentioned earlier, how is this going to impact, you know, the socio-political and economic environment of Center City, Philadelphia with this move? So we've had a lot of people chiming in throughout the show. And I think that my biggest takeaways from absorbing all the comments from all of you out there listening here on 97.3 ESPN FM on the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of CLC. My number one response is, you got to remember the Sixers are doing this for financial reasons. They're not spending over $1 billion of their own money just for the fun of it. They believe that there is a way for them to make back that money and more by making this arena and having their own arena instead of leasing to the Flyers. And there is some truth to that. You know, you go to New York City and with the Barclays, they have a lot of concerts there. They have a lot of events there. You know, I mentioned that this week is San Diego Comic-Con, right? Philadelphia hasn't had a legitimate Comic-Con in years. You know why? Because of COVID, right? So by the time 2031 comes around, the theory is that we won't have half the issues we have now with travel and restrictions. I mean, they're wearing masks right now at San Diego Comic-Con, even though San Diego, the city, does not require you to wear masks indoors. People at the Comic-Con are wearing masks. So, you know, we still live in a world where there's a lot of, you know, layers and restrictions and all kinds of weird stuff. And the hope is by 2031, you know, we will be far enough removed from these things that the world won't have to be concerned about, you know, who's got what rule and what country has this regulation. And, you know, going to Canada is different than New Zealand, which is different than going to Australia, which is different than going to Italy, which is different than going to England, which is different than coming to America. So the whole thing's a fiasco mess of just, you know, conflicting stuff. But again, projecting down the road, the idea is that I know for me, you know, as someone who, if I want to go do something that's not just sports related, right? Something that is not just a Sixers game. If you have a Comic-Con at a place like an arena, it's a different vibe than a convention center. The spacing is different. The arena is different. The layout is different. Okay. The same thing goes for a concert. Okay. You know, you look at a city like Atlantic City right over here in our backyard. Going to a concert in Boardwalk Hall is different than going to a concert inside of one of the casinos. Not that one is better or worse. It's different. So there's a lot of things the Sixers can do with this arena to make money that they're not making right now. And you heard Bryan Toporek mentioned earlier that the original idea, and Keith Smith mentioned this earlier on the show as well, in the 3 o'clock hour, people forget that when Josh Harris and David Blitzer bought this team originally, that the theory is that they were going to eventually flip this house, for lack of a better term. You know, parlay the Sixers ownership and buy into making money on the other end. Well, maybe this is part of their long-term plan. Maybe part of the long-term plan is once they establish this arena, once they're sure that everything is in place, then maybe by 2035, they don't own the team anymore and they sell it to somebody else. I mean, who knows? Maybe LeBron buys the team in 2035. I know he wants to own an NBA team. Hey, LeBron, you got $2 billion sitting around by 2035. You could buy the Sixers. It'll actually probably be $4 billion by then because you're buying an arena too. By the way, think about that for a minute. What I just said. By 2035, the Sixers will probably be evaluated at $4 billion. Josh Harris bought the team for what, $500,000 all those years ago? It's crazy that sports has such an exorbitant value right now. And it's in part because of arenas. Look at all the teams that have the biggest price dollars on them. Yankees, Cowboys, Knicks. It's not just because of the cities they're in. It's because all those teams also own their arenas. Why do the Lakers have a higher price mark than the Clippers? It's not just because of the Lakers. It's because the Lakers own their, crypto.com arena now? Everyone wants to call it the Crypt, but I'll just call it crypto.com and not get in trouble. But same thing with the Warriors. The Warriors are one of the most financially high value, according to Forbes, sports teams in the world. Why? Because they have a brand new arena and they own it. Owning an arena gives you another tier of value in the tier of sports value. The other thing with the Knicks is people forget Madison Square Garden Entertainment entity that owns the Knicks and the Rangers also has their television network. So you have another layer. What is Jerry Jones? He owns the Cowboys, he owns the arena, and he has that minority stake in that Legends, which goes to every NFL arena and runs their sweep properties. So, financial values of these teams, which is going to rise for the Sixers when they get this arena, has so many tiers and layers. And who knows? By the time 2031 comes around, maybe the next NBA TV contract is worth $10 billion. And these teams go up even more money because remember, the value of your franchise is more than just the team. And at the end of the day, nobody cares how good you are. Look at the Cowboys. Cowboys haven't even been to the Super Bowl since, 96? And they're worth about $4.5 billion. Good for Jerry Jones. He's going to die without a Super Bowl, probably. Just saying. Over on the text board at 609-403-0973. 609-403-0973 is text board. Johnny G in Ocean City says, keep the Sixers where they are. Center City could be dangerous at night. By the way, Johnny G says Billy Schwein claims you're taking him out tonight for his birthday. That is not true. I'm busy. I've wished Billy Schwein happy birthday multiple times on and off air today. So if that's not good enough for Billy, then he can hire a new producer for Saturdays in the locker room with Billy Schwein, 97.3 ESPN. Good to hear from Johnny G in Ocean City. Cole and LBI chimes in. Hey, Josh, two-part question here. What do you think about Jalen Hurts' stat line will look like this season? And could it be close to Kyler Murray's stat line? And then I ask that because are you willing to pay Jalen Hurts the kind of money that Kyler Murray got? Excellent question, Cole and LBI. I love how you tied that all together. So for those who didn't hear, Kyler Murray got $230.5 million maximum value. It's only 160 guarantees. There's a $70 million difference. And over $100 million of that money is just in the first 3 years. So technically, yeah, he's under contract for another 5 years after this year, but 3 of those 5 years absorbs the majority of that guaranteed money. So let's keep that in mind when it comes to what we had this conversation about quarterbacks. Always look at the guaranteed money, not the total money. The agent wants you to look at the total money because they can parlay and see, I got Kyler Murray more money than Deshaun Watson. But Deshaun Watson's money is fully guaranteed. He's the only quarterback that's been signed in the last 12 months to have a fully guaranteed contract. He's only one of 2 quarterbacks in the entire NFL with a fully guaranteed contract. The other one, Kirk Cousins. Read into that what you will. Yeah, not even Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers have fully guaranteed contracts. Again, read into that what you will. Back to Cole and LBI's question. So here's the thing. I think Jalen Hurts is more than capable of a, 30-10 kind of season, 30 touchdown, 10 interception. Because at the end of the day, we live in a world where Ryan Tannehill throw for 4,000 passing yards in a season. So, you can't tell me that stats are everything. Carson Wentz has 7 interceptions in 3 out of the last 5 years, basically. And then 1 year he leads the league in interceptions. So stat lines are kind of a fudgy thing. I mean, let me pull it up real quick. But last time I checked, I think Kirk Cousins has some incredible stat years. So, Kirk Cousins, I believe he's thrown for 4,000 passing yards. How many years at this point? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 6 of the last 7 years, Kirk Cousins has over 4,000 passing yards. 6 of the last 7 years, Kirk Cousins is averaging 67.7% completion percentage. Just in the last 7 years, Kirk Cousins has thrown for almost 30,000 passing yards. He has 205 passing touchdowns and only 72 interceptions. Kirk Cousins is averaging 10 interceptions a year. So if Kirk Cousins over a 7-year stretch can average 29 and 10 touchdown interceptions, why can't Jalen Hurts do that this year? He's got better receivers. He's got arguably the best offensive line in the NFL. It's going to be the first time since high school he's had the same offensive coordinator and the same offense in back-to-back years. So can that be his stat line? Of course it can be. Now, the problem is that Kyler Murray's getting paid on potential, not just on his stat line. Kyler Murray was the first overall pick. Jalen Hurts was a second-round pick. Kyler Murray was picked because Cliff Kingsbury wanted him specifically. Jalen Hurts was drafted because the Eagles think they're a quarterback factory. Okay? That's what Howie Roseman and Doug Peterson said. So there's a lot of differences between the two situations. I don't think Jalen Hurts ever gets $230 million unless he elevates himself to be a top 10 quarterback in this league. But I will say to Cole and LBI, could I see Jalen Hurts one day signing a 4-year, $160 million contract extension? I don't think that's that crazy. Because again, Kirk Cousins is getting paid, guaranteed. And if Kirk Cousins is getting paid guaranteed money, well, again, read into that what you will. We'll wrap up the show with your texts and thoughts on the other side. Josh Hennig filling for Mike Gill here on 97.3 ESPN.
Our love for sports is what makes us different from any other station in South Jersey.
Oh, yeah!
Number 1 for live sports and sports talk. 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app.
Free battery testing, free battery charging, and replacement batteries that fit your needs. That's what makes AutoZone America's #1 battery destination. Get in the zone. AutoZone.
This summer, escape to the Jersey Cape, a place that's real and really charming. Come relax, really relax on our beaches, or maybe just sit on a porch and daydream. Explore our trails, discover our natural areas, or go camping, walk the boardwalk, visit a museum or a lighthouse, experience our eclectic dining, or try your hand at fishing and crabbing. Sample our homegrown fruits and vegetables, local wines, brews, and spirits, or participate in our outdoor activities, special events, and live entertainment found beyond our world-famous beaches. Visit the Free County Park and Zoo for a trip on the wild side. Enjoy authentic experiences where the arts easily connect to nature. The food comes directly from the sea or soil, and the outdoors go from birding to playing in the surf. Stay at a modern motel or a quaint bed and breakfast inn. Escape the everyday and pursue your passions at the Jersey Cape. It's authentically charming and sincerely yours. Escape to thejerseycape.com. Sponsored by Cape May County Tourism.
Looking good, Mrs. Dubs.
The head groundskeeper at Thad's Golf Course just retired.
We need to find someone in the next 2 weeks. Someone with botany and management experience.
He needs a replacement because the greens are already looking a little rough.
Water and aeration. They need to know it all.
Indeed can help him hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. You can schedule and conduct virtual interviews all from your employer dashboard. Earn up to $500 in sponsored job credits by interviewing on Indeed. Visit Indeed.com/credit. Terms and conditions apply.
Almost 3 million people use Navage to breathe better, sleep deeper, snore less, and stay healthier.
I'm Martin Hoke, and I invented Navage, the world's only nose cleaner that helps flush out airborne germs with powered suction. But what do doctors have to say about Navage? Here's Dr. Tonya Farmer, a board-certified ear, nose, and throat specialist.
Most airborne allergens and viruses enter through your nose. When that happens, it can cause congestion and irritation, and that just makes you feel miserable. You can get a cold, you can get flu, sinus infections, or even worse. Flushing your nose with a saline solution is the most effective way to flush all of those dangerous threats out of your nose. So now when patients come in my office, I tell them I highly recommend that you use Navage on a daily basis for overall good health and wellness.
And Navage is all natural and drug-free at Navage.com, Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, Rite Aid, Bed Bath, and Target. Navage, N-A-V-A-G-E, clean nose, healthy life.
This is your captain speaking. You better buckle your seatbelts for this one. I noticed my passport was due to expire, so I went to Staples. I got a passport photo in 10 minutes, so we're...
Now at Staples, get 20% off travel products when you purchase a passport photo. Get travel ready at Staples, your one-stop travel prep destination.
Hey, let me tell you about another time that Staples saved my caboose. That all started back.
N731, in-store only. Excludes Instacart orders, certain products, services, and technology. See staplesconnect.com/services/travel for details.
Cashback is not available on gas in New Jersey and Wisconsin. Hey, good morning. You're heading to the airport, right?
Yep, thanks for checking. I like the car. How long have you been a rideshare driver?
About 3 years now, but I really enjoy it.
Isn't it hard to make money these days with the price of gas being so high?
Not for me. I use Upside, the free app that gives you cash back for every gallon of gas you buy.
Wait a minute. Are you saying you actually get real money back when you get gas with the Upside app?
Yep, I get real cash back every time I get gas.
Does that actually add up to anything?
I'll make around $200 to $300.
Wow, that's serious extra cash. I'm downloading the Upside app now.
Download the free Upside app now to earn real cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code CAR for a $5 bonus on your first tank. You can cash out anytime, right to your bank account, PayPal, or gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code CAR for a $5 bonus on your first tank. That's code CAR.
By texting 64,000, you agree to receive recurring automated marketing messages from Babbel. Message and data rates may apply. No purchase required. Terms apply. Available at babbel.com/TNC.
I thought learning a language would be too much work, but Babbel makes learning fun. J'aime Babbel.
Babbel's lessons only take 10 or 15 minutes, and in 3 weeks, you can actually speak another language. Es como magia.
Babbel isn't robots talking. You learn words and phrases from real native speakers. I was ready for real-life conversations in just a few weeks. So easy.
To try Babbel free, text radio to 64,000. Text radio to 64,000.
Now, back to the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN.
All right, wrapping up the show, Josh Hennig here, filling in for Mike Gill. Wow, what a wild show. By the way, shout out to Jay in Atlantic City. Jay in Atlantic City and Tom in the Village both have thoroughly enjoyed the random Marvel conversation I had earlier in the show. So thanks, everybody, for chimed in throughout the show. It's been a lot of tons of fun conversation. Yeah, we didn't even get to a lot of football today because of the Sixers news. We got an overwhelming number of texts and DMs. Text on the text board, DMs, 97.3 ESPN mobile app at the Sixers. They're moving to a new arena in 2031. Thanks to all of you for listening. Thanks to Bryan, Toporek, Keith Smith, Andrew DeCecco, and Paul Hudrick for joining the show today. Coming up next, best of the Sports Bash. I'll be back tomorrow for Happy Hour Friday, filling in for Mike Gill here on 97.3 ESPN. Have a great night, everybody.
Wake up with Keyshawn, J. Will, and Max. Weekday mornings at 6 on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.
This is either the Eagles or the Cowboys.